Jacob, how old are you?
45.
And what's your opinion on the backdrop?
And I believe they are a woman, and if we could let up Led Zepp, that'd be good.
Why are you letting bro? All these bros are just chasing everybody like, girl, just...
I will decide. I will decide who I let up. Pretty girl, how old are you? Sorry, love.
I'm 21.
And what's your opinion on the backdrop?
They shouldn't be allowed to use female spaces.
W. Nico. I'm gonna call you Nico. How old are you?
23.
And what's your opinion on the backdrop?
They shouldn't really.
I'm gonna drop you because I don't want too many agreeers. Sorry. You can come back up after though. Great. How old are you? Shrimp. Hello.
Oh, my bad. 31.
I already know your opinion on the prompt. Sorry, love. All right. I think we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna do open panel because there's two of you. But I'm not taking anyone's shit. If you talk over, you're getting dropped. If you're being rude, you're getting dropped. I'm not taking anyone's shit. So enjoy the conversation and keeping an eye out.
Yep. So what are we debating?
Edna, I really liked where you were heading until you headed out. If there's any way, if you want to one, I don't know. Unless anybody else.
Fine. I mean, I think Mike is just generally confused. He doesn't seem to realize that he's using gender stereotypes. He calls them archetypes, but they're not. So that just seems to be
Why not?
the
Why not?
issue.
Why are they not archetypes?
So, sorry, I'm speaking. You are not using archetypes.
Explain. Okay, explain why. You keep saying that over and over.
Well, I explained what gender stereotypes were, and I explained to you how you saying that men have to align with, because male typical traits, you're just describing masculine traits, which are yet again stereotypically attributed to men.
Why I'm
okay,
stereotyping.
so you are using stereotypes.
Stop yapping. Explain why I'm stereotyping.
Right? So I don't really know how else to explain to you that you're doing that, but you are.
You're doing a very poor job in articulating how I'm wrong.
I just articulated it.
Explain how I'm stereotyped.
I just explained it. These are oversimplified.
No, you didn't.
These are oversimplified. These are oversimplified.
Yeah, he's got that's the thing is host quite literally 2 seconds ago said, please do not interrupt and act out of hand. She quite literally just said that.
He does.
And Mike clearly lacked any discipline as a child and is very narcissistic to think that his opinion is absolute and he is the majority of people's opinions and that his opinion matters the most. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not. You're not coming back up. I've given you way too many chances. So, Mike, disrespectfully, suck your mum. Anyway.
Yeah, he does that on purpose.
I think it was
so
a lack of sucking his mom. I think it was a lack of breastfeeding. I really do.
To be fair, I think he is still breastfed, but you know,
that's fair. Yeah.
The other two people you have on panel who are pro-trans are not much better. They're just, I don't know. Jacob is going to prove that too. So I mean, I'm not really. Can go ahead.
Are you sneaking these people?
We've debated these people so many times. Like they literally, they just want to make womanhood into some sort of arbitrary category that is not definable, and then it's just pointless. It gets boring.
Category? Can you?
That's what you do. That's literally
what do you mean by arbitrary there?
Meaning no strict or concise understanding. It's just placed wherever you want it and it's random.
And do you think that's what people typically mean when they say arbitrary? Are you just
using use of arbitrary?
That's a strange use of arbitrary.
It's not a strange use of arbitrary. When a person uses the word arbitrary, it just means
in a non-concise way, it's arbitrary. So when scientists
when it's arbitrary, they just mean that there's no clear understanding or there's no actual like proper reasoning behind it. It's just want to make it
proper reasoning behind what exactly.
Right. Just say you're rainbow and you like a man that presents as a woman.
I am gay.
It's random. It's just random. It's just very random.
Okay, so what you mean is random. So do you think pattern recognition in general is just like random?
No, pattern recognition isn't random, but using okay, but hold on. This is where the definitions that you guys use regarding pattern recognition become sexist, right?
But that wasn't the critique. You said that we were making it arbitrary.
Yeah, and pattern recognition when it comes to gender stereotypes or gender norms, right, is sexist, right? because you have to
Okay.
understand that these ideas and these norms are used often to subjugate women and are used to restrict women's expression. So when you argue that women are defined by those things, not only that, but that males, it's a historically oppressive class to women, can also be women if they choose to perform those ideas, then you are being sexist, right?
Okay,
But
just like a question. So you're saying that it's sexist to define people based on stereotypes, and what you mean by stereotypes is distinct from an oversimplification that often leads to like misrepresentation.
it's
Or
not
I guess
it's not distinct. That's the definition of of a stereotype. It is an
okay. So
oversimplified setup. I'm not done.
oversimplification.
I'm not done. An oversimplified set of generalizations often placed on a particular group of people.
Okay, cool. So an oversimplification. So if people were to define or create an account of woman that is a cluster, such a way that what's being, let's just say like utilized or things that are being considered are things that are just like traits that co-occur with individuals who are adult human females, how exactly would that be a stereotype?
Well, the thing is, it might not only be a stereotype. That may be okay, but excuse me.
No, nothing. It was.
Oh,
I thought you
okay.
were beatboxing for a second.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't. Right? So it may not only be a stereotype. It can also just not encapsulate all of them. That's also the issue. You're not encapsulating all of those people, right? And they're going to be women people who we would generally consider women who wouldn't fall into that category.
That's just not even a unique critique, right? I feel like wait, hold on. So saying that like there's people that we would want to include in the definition that may not be captured just seems to be kind of like what happens when we try to define terms in general. This happens all the time, right? With like knowledge, there's things that we want to call knowledge.
Give your definition.
Well, I just have to like finish what I'm saying first, right?
You really don't, because you're really just going out of your way to define women by
hold on one
stereotypes.
second,
It's really
please.
goofy.
Okay, I know that you think that. Just give me a second. So all I'm saying is that when it comes to defining things, right, there's always the issue of what we're giving as criteria not being like extensionally perfect to the thing or concept that we're trying to capture. So that critique isn't very unique. I can point to you like several examples, like things like knowledge, right? There's not like a set of criteria by which we call something knowledge that fits one-to-one with everything that we want to call knowledge, as opposed to everything that we don't want to call knowledge.
I think that
that whole critique is totally applicable to your own account. Hello?
I don't think it is, but also I just want to clarify. Your statement is your statement that some trans women are, or that all of them are?
Yeah, some trans women are women.
Right. So then there's your issue, right? You can't use transgender as both a subjective and a non-subjective adjective at the same time.
How would it be both subjective and non-subjective?
Yeah, because you're saying sometimes trans women are not women and sometimes they are. The adjective trans describes the non-woman, correct?
That's just to say that it's not subjective.
Sorry, okay.
So I'm not sure where the subjective and non-subjective is coming from.
Hold on. It would be okay if it's not subjective sometimes and subjective sometimes. How about the
where are you getting subjective sometimes?
Okay, because there sometimes are women.
No, subjective means that you take an adjective plus a noun, right? That phrase forms a subset, right? A proper subset of the noun taken by itself. Right.
And you can't say sometimes. You can't say sometimes. You can't say sometimes the subset of woman isn't a woman. That doesn't
but
make
I'm
any
not
sense.
saying that it's a subset to begin with.
Okay, then are trans women a type of women?
Some trans women are in the category women.
Okay, if I say some black women are in the category of women and some are not, what's the principal difference between you saying that?
What you're saying then is that black women do not form a subset with the class of women.
Okay, hold on. That doesn't make any sense because black women are women. So
yeah, you're saying it doesn't make any sense because you don't agree with that, right?
No, I'm saying to you that you can't
don't
say
agree that
I'm saying
black
to you,
women
you can't
form
say,
a subset
you
of
can't
women?
say no. I'm saying to you that you cannot define. You can't say that some type of women are not women. That's a contradictory statement.
That's just to beg the question, right? You're saying that I'm supposing that this forms a subset, but I'm asking you in what? Where are you getting that from, right?
You just said that they do.
No, do you know what a subset is?
Yeah, it's
How
just
is
a
subset
it's a subcategorization.
There's
smaller
a very
groups that fall under the...
Hold on. Subset is a mathematical term, right? That pertains to set theory. It's like basic set theory. Do you understand how it's defined?
Go ahead and define it then.
Okay, so if you have a set A is just a collection of objects. That's how we understand a set to be. Just like a collection of things.
Mm-hmm.
To say that A is a subset of B means that every element of A is also in B.
Okay, no, hold on. Let me just clarify. Transgender is an adjective that describes the noun woman, correct?
It's an adjective that describes the noun woman. Yeah.
Is transgender a subsective or non-subsective adjective?
It is not. Trans woman does not form a subset.
That's not the question.
I'm answering your question.
No, is the term transgender a subsective or non-subsective
I'm answering
adjective?
your question. Yes,
No,
I said this twice.
No.
Do you want an answer to the question?
No, you're twisting the answer by saying subsective or non-subsective.
It is not subsective because it does not form a subset. I've said this 3 times.
Okay, so if it doesn't form a subset, then trans women are not women then. They're not a type of
That
woman.
doesn't follow either.
That
Holy
doesn't
shit.
follow. That doesn't.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
it does. Yes, it
No,
does.
it doesn't. Look.
Yes, it
dummy.
does.
Look, no, it doesn't. To
Yes,
say
it does.
that A is a subset of B means that every single element of A is within B too. To say that that's false simply means that there exists at least one member of A that's not also in B. So for you to say
No, that doesn't make it. No,
yes,
hold on.
it does. What are you
Stop.
talking about?
If transgender
Oh
is
my gosh.
if transgender is a non-subsective adjective, no kind of trans woman would be a woman.
That does okay. When you have a universal statement like all A's are B's and you negate that, right? What would that translate to? To say that it's not the case that all A's are B's, how would you translate that?
Repeat again.
To say that not all A's are B's, how would you translate that?
It just means that there are no cases where the people who are part of category.
Oh my God. To say that not all swans are black means that there exists at least one swan that isn't black, right?
Okay. No. You're not making any sense, Bob.
To say that not all swans are black.
Can you stop and listen?
Can you stop and listen?
You cannot say. Okay. What you're saying to us is that some type of woman is not a woman in some cases. That doesn't make any sense. That's what you're saying.
I get that you're having a trouble understanding. I'm trying to explain it to you. To say that not all swans are black, right? To say that is false, that all swans are black, means that there exists at least one swan that is not black, right? Right?
I'm waiting for you to explain to me why the
Do you
statement.
understand?
I'm waiting for you to explain. No, it's not working. You're not making
you
any
don't
sense.
Understand?
You're not making any sense. Nobody here understands what you're saying. You're saying stop.
Oh,
hold on. If you're saying you can't say that. Okay, I'm going to ask a question again because you're clearly not tracking the issue.
You're just going to dodge my question?
I'm not dodging your question. The issue is that you're not understanding. I'm going to clarify the question again. You understand what a subsective adjective is, correct?
Yes, you're saying that the adjective when it's combined with a noun forms a proper subset.
No. Let's go with the example black. Is black a subsective adjective?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. If I said to you, some black women are not women, would that make sense?
That wouldn't because you're contradicting yourself.
Right. Why am I contradicting myself?
Because you're saying that it's subsective and not subsective.
Okay. Is transgender subsective or non-subsective? No. Why isn't transgender subsective?
Transgender is not subsective because there exists some trans women who are not women.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
So you're just asking me what I mean by women now?
No. Why? Okay. Why? Okay. Why aren't some of them women?
Is that what you're asking me now?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get there, can you acknowledge that there was no contradiction prior?
You were making
the claim
I'm not quite there yet. No. I'm
okay,
trying. We haven't
can't move on to that.
Yeah. No, but that's the problem. You're saying, okay, are there cases
I just
where...
don't think you understand what a subset is.
I understand what it is.
Okay, then why is it that you're unable to defend your claim that somehow it follows by saying that trans women do not form a proper subset of the category or set of women?
You can't say
somehow. Hold on.
I'm saying it doesn't make sense to say that some... It doesn't make sense to say sometimes... No, hold on. It doesn't make sense to say...
Am I getting interrupted for?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you said like 2 seconds ago that it somehow follows to say that trans women not being a subset of women entails that no trans women are women. And you've yet to defend that. And I've tried to explain to you how it's wrong.
Because transgender is used as a subjective adjective. I don't know in what world it's not. When you guys say trans women are women, you're describing a type of woman. You can't say a particular type of woman isn't a type of woman in certain instances.
If trans woman is used as a subjective adjective, then is that just not you saying that you believe that all trans women are women?
No, I'm saying the way that you people often use it is used as
so you're talking
as
about
a subjective
people
adjective.
who aren't me?
What?
Bob, so you're straw manning.
But I'm not straw manning. I'm saying to you, it doesn't make sense to use the term transgender as a non-subjective adjective if you're going to say they're a type of woman.
Why?
If they're a type of, the same way that it wouldn't make sense to use black as a non-subjective adjective, or a subjective adjective and then say that they're not women.
But that's not. That's different because we agreed that black would be a subjective adjective.
Okay, why is black
in this case?
Why is black? Why? No, hold on. Stop dodging the question. Why
it's
is
not
black,
me dodging the question. You're dodging the question actively.
Why is black a subjective adjective?
Asking me why black is a subjective adjective is just going to be asking me the same
Answer the question.
Again.
Answer the question.
The reason why it's
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Yeah, I'm answering the question. The reason why it's subjective is the same reason why every subjective adjective is subjective. It's that it forms a proper subset of the noun taken with the nouns, the set of all the nouns.
Okay, all right. And transgender is not a subjective adjective.
Yes. So again, you have not demonstrated how, one, it somehow follows that by saying that trans is, well, first, you said that I'm contradicting myself. You haven't provided any evidence for that.
Yeah,
then on top of that, you said that it follows, wait, hold on. You said that it follows somehow by saying that trans is non-subjective, that every single trans woman is not a woman.
Why?
You haven't provided justification for that.
I'm asking the question.
Hold on.
Why is the noun? Why? No, stop. Why is the noun transgender not subjective? If it describes a person who can be a type of woman.
Did you forget what it means to? Why are you asking me the same question over and over again? I answered this.
Edna, repeat his answer that he gave. Edna, repeat his answer that he gave.
Can you repeat my answer?
The answer you gave is that I'm asking you, if I ask the question, why isn't it subjective? I'm asking you what a woman is and you refuse to answer. That's what you said. So you didn't actually answer. You said that you refused to move forward if I didn't answer, say that you weren't. That is exactly what you said.
No, that wasn't my answer that I gave to your question.
No, that is the answer that you gave. You want to run it back? When I asked
okay, can you bet money on it? Can you please bet money that was Bob's response?
No. When I asked the question, why is trans? No, I asked why is trans?
Stop talking over Edna, please.
I asked why transgender wasn't a subjective adjective, and then you said why, and then you said I said yes, I'm asking why, and you said if I'm asking you why, then I'm just asking for your account of woman, and then if I don't concede that you're not contradicting yourself, then you refuse to answer. So you didn't answer the question. You responded by saying that you were not going to answer until I conceded that there was no contradiction.
Yeah, but you asked me prior.
So hold on. So then you conceded. So you conceded and you didn't answer. So it's a lie.
No, I did answer.
So what was your?
I answered it multiple times.
You didn't. You answered by saying
that wasn't Bob's first response.
You answered, but Jacob, I don't know why you're speaking.
Just hold on. Let me like clarify so that we can all be on the same page and this doesn't just spiral into chaos. So I gave you what it means for an adjective to be subjective. So I'm going to repeat the definition so that we all know by what criteria something is subjective. So an adjective is subjective just in case that it taken along with like a noun phrase. So like, let's say X is an adjective. X plus noun forms a proper subset of the set of the whatever noun, right? All individuals or all things that happen to be whatever the noun is. It forms a subset. And I defined what subset is. I said, if you have a set A and you have set B, set A is a subset of B just in case every element of A also is in B. So you have the criteria by which something is a subjective adjective as opposed to non-subjective. And I've asked you like twice now, it's been like 3 times, and you keep dodging this question specifically. How does it follow by saying that an adjective is non-subjective that all, or by saying that trans is non-subjective, that all trans women are not women? Because you've made that claim like thrice.
Yeah,
I've asked you thrice why that would be the case. And I try to give you an example as how it's obviously false.
Yeah, give the example again.
The definition or the example? Are you talking about the swans?
Give the example.
If I say that all swans are white, when is that statement false? Well, let's make it easier because you don't like.
No, but hold on. But
I
you're
give you a
flipping.
jar of
No. Wait,
Wait,
pause.
hold on.
Pause.
Hold on.
No. Stop.
Oh
That's
my gosh!
not
Now I'm getting
no.
interrupted again.
I'm
And then
gonna
the host is
interrupt
just
you
like,
because because hold on. You're swapping the noun for the adjective. That's you're being bad faith.
we don't.
No.
I can give you another
No.
example.
If you say oh, no, hold on. The statement is not all women are trans women. Or all women are trans. It's all trans women are women. So you're actually flipping the noun for the adjective. So you're being bad faith. The swan white analogy, you would have to flip it back around. It would be all what's it called? All
What are you
white
talking
swans
about?
are swans, right? White
No,
would be a
no.
substantive. Yes.
This is no.
Yes.
You're not
White would be
understanding the reason why I brought up
you
the
just
swan.
flipped.
Bob.
Why do I?
You
Nate
just
interrupted
flipped.
me, by the way.
You just flipped. You flipped
Nate
the
interrupted
noun
me, by
for
the
the.
way.
You flipped the noun for the adjective. The question
Okay.
would not be. Hold on.
That's
The
irrelevant
question
here.
would not be. No, it is. It is relevant because.
Why
the
is it relevant? Do you
the
understand what I'm
question-
trying to demonstrate?
You're not comparing it. You're not comparing it analogously. The question would not be are all
What?
swans white? No. The question would not be are all swans white? The question would be are all white swans swans? So you're flipping the no. Your analogy is flipping the adjective and the noun. I'm not asking you to do that. The question isn't all women trans. That's not the question. Obviously, under your view, that statement would be false. You're saying all okay, right? So your swan no, that swan white
No, I'm
analogy
just
doesn't
waiting
make
for you
any.
to finish.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay.
You're saying that like thrice now. Okay, look, you're just not understanding the reason why I brought up swans. It's not to make it could be really anything. What's trying to be
Just give the
demonstrated to you is the
example that
stop. I
explains
just
it.
let you go on for however long. Stop. To demonstrate what's going on, or I'm simply trying to demonstrate the idea of negating a universal. So this could apply in theory to any universal statement. I'm just asking you by what conditions would a universal statement be false, right? That's what hold on, because we already established that when you say that a set is a subset of another, you're making a universal claim. You're saying that all members in a particular set belong to another set as well, right? So this idea of saying that it's not the case that something is a subset somehow entails that no members of that set belong to another set. So the idea is to hold on. Hold on. Yes, because when you say that something is non-subsective, you're saying that it's not a subset. So you're saying it's false. You're negating a universal
that would apply
claim.
to the that would
Stop,
apply to the
stop.
no, don't tell me to stop.
Stop.
That would apply
You
to the
interrupting me.
stop.
You're
That would apply to the noun.
interrupting
We're
me.
talking about
Oh my God.
we're talking about
Oh my God. You just keep
we're
doing
talking
this.
about we're
just keep doing
talking
this.
about I'm gonna keep doing it because you're waffling and you're not making any sense.
It's not waffling. You're just not comprehending.
You don't shut up and your points don't make any
You
sense.
interrupted me and you're telling
Because you're not going anywhere
interrupting
with what
me.
you're saying.
You
You're
interrupting
just saying
me.
a bag of words and nobody understands what
It's
you're
just
saying.
a bag of Jacob, can you repeat what I'm saying?
Don't
Since it's just
ask
a bag of words.
why are you involving somebody else?
Because you keep saying no one understands
Jacob
what I'm saying,
is just
right?
as dumb as you. So I don't know
okay.
why you're wasting your time involving Jacob.
Okay, if he's just as dumb as me, then he should clearly not be able to understand what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Hurry up and finish your
If
point.
I'm not
and try to
explaining
take-
well, then you interrupting me surely is going to help that, right?
Hurry up.
So
Yeah,
just,
because I'm trying to address the things that you're saying as you go along because
okay,
you're
you don't
not
have to
clarifying.
do that because you like,
because
had a hissy fit when I was doing
can't
that, right?
understand because you're
But if I
you're
did that to you, you would like start crying, right?
You're not. I've never cried for you. I mean, you cry when
Right.
men don't give you
Guys.
what they
I'm
their
getting
penises or whatever. But I don't really
Yeah,
give a shit.
I'm
No one
muting
is-
you because I'm trying to say something. That's why I'm muting
Holy
you.
shit. Okay.
We're gonna do what we're gonna do is like a point by point thing. I'm more lost than ever because you're rambling on. Can we get to the point?
Yeah,
'Cause
I can get to the
You're
point.
just monologuing. I haven't heard anyone else's voice bar yours at this point. That's why I keep
What?
muting you.
Okay, that doesn't make sense.
Hurry up.
Anytime someone else
Hurry
tries to
up.
talk,
Just hurry
Edna's
up.
like,
Literally
why is
just
this
died.
person
Hurry up.
talking?
Can you just hurry up
Hurry
and
up
get
and
to your
finish your
point?
point.
I'm gonna go.
What we're gonna
So, when
do,
you-
Bob, you finish your point. Pretty has something to ask, and then I need to introduce Suri. So Bob, you finish your monologue.
All right. So when you say that something's a subset of something else, you're making a universal claim. The point of the swan analogy was to demonstrate the conditions by which a universal will be false, which is not going to result in a universal, right? To say that it's false that all swans are white is just to say that there exists at least one swan that is not white. Not that no swan is white, right? Just one is sufficient to disprove a universal. that is just a counterexample,
That
right?
doesn't make.
That doesn't make
God.
sense.
Can I respond to
Counterexamples
that?
don't make sense.
Can I respond?
Okay.
No, the counter example you're giving doesn't make any sense because the question is not, are all swans white? The question is, would all white swans be swans? That would be the debate. So you're flipping the noun and the adjective around, and that's why you sound so stupid, right?
Is all swans white a universal
If I
claim?
say, sorry, no, but that's not the claim you're making.
Is it a universal?
That's not the claim we're
Is that the
challenging.
claim that I
If
said
I
I was
said to
making?
you, stop. If I said some white swans were swans, I'm sorry. Bleh. If I said some white swans were not swans, would that make any sense?
White is subjective. So no.
I'm gonna okay, right. So great. So that's the issue. So that would be the comparison you need to bring up. Not are all swans white. It would be if all white swans are swans.
No,
so
because your claim.
So you're flipping the stop. So you're flipping the noun for the adjective and then trying to apply it to your argument, and it doesn't make any sense. Okay?
No, you're just
So-
not understanding. Again,
Sorry, you see
you're
how
making
you
the claim
cried about
that
interruption.
you're
You got
making-
to finish. I know I'm
you were
talking. You know,
finished.
you can't be quiet, right?
You were finished.
So stop. I really wasn't. So can you stop? So yet again, you're being bad faith, and you're trying to compare the two questions, and then you're flipping the noun for the adjective. Just to clarify, the question is: are all trans women women? And if you say some trans women, it doesn't make any sense, right? If the adjective is being used subjectively, but you're saying that it's not being used subjectively, and I'm trying to figure out why, because the statement doesn't make any sense, right? You can't place an adjective before a noun and then say, okay, I'm going to give you a list of examples and then we'll see if it works, right? If I say some black women are women, does it make sense? Hello?
No, we already went over that.
If I say some old dogs are not dogs, does that make any sense?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Okay, if I said some old dogs were dogs and some were not, would that make sense?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Okay. So now you're getting the idea. So when you add the adjective trans, you can't say some subset of this category woman are not women. That doesn't make any sense.
Why?
Either all of them are, because you, the adjective is meant to describe the noun. In any other instance, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in any other instance.
You're
It
just
doesn't
question begging. This
I'm not,
sucks.
what? Bro, I explained to you why you can't. These are all
No,
subjective.
you didn't. You're
These
first
are all-
assuming that trans is subjective, which is the thing that's in question. You're accusing me of
but you
this
haven't
contradiction.
explained. But you haven't
Oh my
explained
God.
why it's not subjective.
I just explained.
You're
I
just
just
saying.
explained.
So you're just saying trans women aren't a type of woman because they're not a type of woman. You
Yeah,
just keep
it
saying
would
that.
be-
It's a circular argument.
It's not circular argument at all.
Why
but
isn't
hold
the
on,
term-
Let me explain. Let me explain now that you made
Hold
your
on,
point.
no, hold on.
So
I'm gonna
again,
no, I need to
just
clarify something.
Now you're
something needs
interrupting
to be
me, and the
no,
host is
because
gonna
something
mute
needs
me
to be
when
clarified. Hold
I-
on, something needs
You
to be
asked
clarified.
me like 5 questions.
Something needs to be clarified. When you're making the statement that when we're talking about trans women that are women, how is the adjective transgender being used? Is it being used subjectively or
It's
non-subjectively?
to say that some trans women are not women.
No, stop. Listen to the question and listen
Yes,
carefully.
I'm
Listen.
answering your
Shut
question.
up and listen. When we are talking about the trans women that are women, are we speaking about, are we using the term transgender subjectively or non-subjectively?
The adjective is always non-subjective.
Then
That's what that means.
Then what's the point of the adjective then?
What do you mean? What's the point of the adjective?
Hold on.
To convey
How can the adjective?
information.
How can
To
the
convey
adjective-
information.
Bro,
Hello?
you were dropped. What information is it? What is being conveyed?
When you say that an individual is trans, you're making a claim about something
Is a
about their
trans
gender
woman a type of?
identity.
Is a
Hold
trans
on.
woman?
Hold on. You're interrupting me. You just asked me a question to interrupt me.
Bro,
So
this bro fell
So
out the
you're
stupid tree.
conveying information by adding trans as an adjective.
What information?
That
Wait.
that information would be. Well, this is kind of a disingenuous question because if I said woman and then I said trans woman, you would say those are two different things. So you would know that
I'm
extra
under.
information is
I'm
being
talking
conveyed.
about under
But
your
yeah,
view. Stop.
I'm
not
gonna
equivocating.
explain.
No,
even
I'm
though
not
it's kind of
equivocating.
disingenuous.
I'm not.
Yeah. Just hold on.
You literally say-
Obviously, you understand that when someone says woman and trans woman, they're saying something
Wait,
different.
hold on.
But I'm gonna
The
answer
tran-
your
the
question
tran- the-
that you asked me.
The some
Wait.
trans women that are women, are they a type of women? The some that are.
That's a nonsense question too.
No,
That's
you
silly.
see how you,
Answer the question.
If some are the trans women that are look,
are
this is your
they-
question.
No,
Are the
hold on.
trans
No,
women that are women?
Stop. The trans women that you consider women, are they a type of woman? Yes or no?
Duh. Like obviously
Okay,
that's a
great.
nonsense
So they're
question.
so they're a subtype of woman.
That no.
Yes,
No,
you just said
no.
that.
Holy
He
shit.
doesn't follow.
Fuck.
Holy shit.
What the fuck?
You're so stupid.
Bro.
This hurts my soul.
Bro, what?
Okay, can I respond to that? So we already made clear what it means for
Level
something
of
to be a
stupidity.
subset,
It's
right?
crazy. You're literally stupid. Like,
What is a subset, Nate?
I refuse. I refuse
What
to
is a subset, Nate?
consider this. You're an actual
What is
idiot.
a? That's not a
This is
concession. You're
really
just
dumb.
really dumb. That's
If
not a
you wait,
concession.
Edna, if you
You're
think that
just
that's
really
that, if you
stupid.
think that
Jacob,
logically
can you
followed,
go
what
back to? Can you go
Wait.
back to? Jacob, can you go back to something?
Wait.
you said you weren't going to talk with. You said
Wait.
you weren't going to talk with Bob. So
I have no interest in
Wait.
speaking to a bunch
Wait.
of chasers
Now I
who
have to
just
ask
want
this
to
question.
speak with
What is a
trans women.
subset, Nate?
So define subset again.
You don't remember what a subset is.
I
Okay,
do, but
great.
clearly you don't because
Then
you just
answer the
said that it was.
question.
You
What
just
is a
said that it
subset?
was. You just
If
said
you
that.
know what
you
it is,
just said
please
that
let
trans women
us know what your understanding
distinguish
is.
between the terms type and subset.
What is a subset?
Distinguish between the terms type and subset. I'm not answering the question.
You're not answering the question.
Distinguish
Okay, cool.
between the, just like you refuse to answer
Yeah.
mine. You said, it's a
What question did I not
nonsense
answer? I answered multiple of your
You
questions.
said it's a nonsense question.
Uh,
That's what you said, right?
That was
So yet
really
again,
bad.
yeah, I know that's how you sound to everybody. Bob. You should go back to changing your profile picture to the picture of that blob from Monsters Inc. You literally have no brain. It's very fitting. The name.
I know you think that.
Bob, yes, Bob. Yes, Bob.
Are you
Right.
done
So,
yet?
anyways, point being, right?
The point being, you don't know what a subset is, and
Distinguish
you
between
failed
the
to
terms.
give an
Distinguish.
argument.
Excuse me, sir. Or she, they, it, or
Excuse
whatever you
me,
go by, because you have
excuse me,
multiple pronouns
excuse
in your
me.
bio like an idiot.
Oh my god, real
Sorry,
quick.
Excuse me.
He,
That's
he,
just to
she,
make people
they.
mad. Like, I
He, she,
understand that you're like
he, she,
raging
they,
right
he,
now.
she, they. Relax. All of you need to relax. All of you.
Guys, wait there.
Somebody was asking really quickly if they can pay a money pew to bring the person back up that got kicked. Question mark?
Yeah, they can. It's a money gun to drop or to bring up. Sorry, I didn't have enough space in the sticker, but yeah.
No, you're good. Continue. Sorry.
Can I
anyway-
also wait? Can I just cut it off because Pretty did really want to ask something? And
Honestly, I think.
Can I ask a question after Pretty?
This question is a waste
Yeah.
of time. Jacob is just a chaser who wants to sleep with trans women, don't want to admit that he's gay. I don't know
Why
why
is
it's so hard for you to
everybody-
understand.
Why is
But,
everybody who questions your
Go
love
ahead,
will chase her?
go
Like,
ahead,
why?
Jacob, because that's what you men do. You guys don't think that people. Before Pretty goes, I just want to make it clear: all
my
of you
God.
men, who try to weaponize philosophy to try and erase women and try to include trans
That was
women,
math, by the
y'all
way.
are just a bunch of DL. Y'all are just a bunch of DL men who want
Why
to
would a
sleep around
DL
with
man
trans
be
women.
publicly
And do you
defending
think that?
trans women? That makes no sense.
Yeah, because they want to. Okay, DL men are men who want to sleep with men and don't want to admit that they're gay. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to convince themselves that men are women to appeal to their fetish or their like for men and still convince themselves that they're straight dumbass. That's what they're doing. So when y'all come up here all the time
Okay,
and y'all are like,
so-
trans women, y'all are half of these men just want to sleep around with trans women, but because they're DL and they're struggling with internalized homophobia, they want to still call themselves straight while they're sticking it up in another man's booty hole. That's what they want to do.
Wait,
I'm
how
just
much
making
did
it clear.
Bring Bob
That's why I
back
don't take
up?
y'all seriously. So when
Wait,
Jacob
host,
and
how
these
much
Phil
did
bros
Bring
come
Bob
up,
back
y'all are just a bunch of DL men who are chasers, and we see you as that all the time, and y'all think we don't see it.
Wait,
so I'm
host,
just
how
making it
much
clear.
to
It's
bring Bob
very
back
painfully
up?
obvious. Anyways, next.
Wait, host, could you answer my question, please? How much is it?
You say
I thought
I
Pretty had a
couldn't hear you
question
over the
first.
sound of me not giving a shit.
Yeah,
What
how
did you
much
say,
is it to
Serenity?
bring Bob back up?
How much
it's a
is
money gun.
Okay, well, wait a minute.
Oh,
I have a
somebody
question.
got
Number
it,
one,
okay.
for the whole ramble that you just said, do you just think that stuff or do you know that stuff, Edna?
I know that stuff because a lot of the men
You
who
know that stuff.
okay, hold on 1 second. We can just clarify
So I
now.
have a restriction. I can't
Jacob, do you
rephrase.
consider yourself a straight man?
I'm asexual, but let me go ahead and ask you a clarifying question. Let me go ahead and ask you a clarifying question about something real quick. You just said that you know. You do acknowledge that no. The word no, unless you're
no,
1 second.
that's okay.
Unless you're an epistemic.
Oh, guys, he's asexual,
I have a
y'all.
question.
Right.
Don't be scared of the question.
Right.
Don't dodge.
What's wrong with being asexual?
Unless you're an epistemic minimalist, you
Right.
believe that knowledge requires justification. So
Sorry,
I'm going to
I
go ahead and
don't-
ask you, what is your...
Sorry, I don't speak stupid. Could you speak a little bit more clearly for me, please?
Sure. You believe that knowledge requires justification, presumably. What is your account of justification when it comes to epistemology?
Account of justification meaning what?
There's different theories that account for the sufficient and necessary conditions for when knowledge obtains. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you, since you made a knowledge claim, I want to know that knowledge
What was
claim
the
was
knowledge
actually
claim that I
justified.
made? What was the knowledge claim?
You said that you know that these DL men do this in weaponized philosophy because actually they're,
Oh, guys,
they want to get with
you're
these
really
women.
mad. You're offended. Yikes.
So go ahead and tell me,
Okay.
what's the account of justification that you're using to justify that knowledge claim?
Pardon? Verifiable incidents of engagements
Do you think
with
that that's
these
an account of
individuals.
justification? Do you have any sources that confirm what you're saying?
If I've experienced something and I've seen a constant level of these individuals who say this, then I would say yeah.
That's an account of justification. I'm curious, where did you read or hear that? Is that confirmed by any sources at all?
Your mom's vagina. Next.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
let's go
that's
back to
right.
another claim, because you're clearly trolling at this point. Let's go back to another claim that you made about
because
Bob.
clearly you
When
are
said
too.
that something,
I'm not wasting my
look,
time.
he's spurring up because I'm about to ask my question. He's about to be stun locked again.
You really actually don't care, do you?
Let me just ask you a question. When you said that Bob's statement, when you said that something logically followed from what Bob said, what is the conditions for something logically following from something else?
Logic. Y'all are asking very stupid questions.
How do we establish if something actually logically follows from another statement? How do we establish if something is a valid inference in logic?
I never made any of those claims. I just said that his statement doesn't make any sense
because
internally.
you said, wait a minute, when Bob said something about whether trans is subsective or not subsective, then you said, well, what would follow from that is X. Or you said that means that this follows. That means that you're making a claim about something that logically follows, which is specifically what logic.
Can you listen? I'm not doing all of that Philbo. I'm not doing all of the Philbo bullshit that y'all want to do. I feel like it's just something that can be simply explained, which is why a lot of you Philbros are not welcome here. You're just here. You're just here to use jargon to confuse people instead of actually educate them. So I'm just making it clear. All I said is that if the term trans is subsective, a type of something is never not belonging to the category that it is a type of. Okay. So if a person says, are you speaking about me?
No, not you. I say let me have at him because he's implying some kind of. Oh yeah, he's implying some kind of logical epistemology without actually justifying a worldview because logic doesn't stand worldview neutral. So he has to like somehow give an account for his worldview, right? When it comes to like Aristotle. Epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics. So he has to justify all those three and not just justifying like epistemology within itself. So he has to give like an account for his worldview first. Why is knowledge possible to begin with before he come and ask something else?
Yeah, I'm just clarifying. All I've been trying to say to Bob, and I hope this makes sense to people who are not philosophically confused. The only thing that I was saying is that you cannot say that some type of woman are not women. That does not make any sense. These Philbros nowadays, what they're doing to avoid giving necessary conditions because they can't give any because they're dummies and they don't actually have an exhaustive, strict or clear understanding of women. They just see women as cluster concepts. They're trying to do this new thing.
Don't ask me anything. Look, I'm trying to.
All understand it. We all
He self-admittedly does it. I don't get why he's saying like other people do it. That's weird.
Right.
Y'all do that. Come on. It's very obvious.
Who does that?
The Phillies.
Give one example.
Air,
Bryce,
Lex,
I'll give you an example.
Led Zepp,
How does he?
Bro, how did I get a restriction right
I'll show you how. I'll show you how they do it. So Philbros use terminology that is commonly or not even encountered until or unless you're at the college level. And then the average person doesn't go to college and is on average not exposed to these terms. The fact that Philbros engage with people using this terminology, knowing that, right, and they engage with this conversation with average people, and yet they continue to use that vernacular, right, just shows that they're being bad faith and intentionally deceiving.
But Nate invoked
like they're just
the
dumping on a
terms
bunch of
subsective and
something.
non-subsective when we were talking.
Yeah, exactly. Like
He invoked the
What?
term. I explained to him what a subset was because he somehow invoked it without knowing what a subset was. I explained to him the definition. I gave to him an example, and then he couldn't comprehend it. So how is that me filling out?
He could comprehend everything you're saying. You guys are just doing what I told you. What I just
You
said.
can
You guys are
comprehend what I'm saying. You're
confused.
just crying about how I'm using language that you can't understand.
No, you actually
no.
Maybe
changed
you're
what's
just using,
inside.
or maybe you're just using language idiosyncratically, which is fine, I guess, if you want
It
to.
wasn't idiosyncratic either. That's what subsective means. It forms a
Okay,
subset.
But
The noun
who's
phrase
building
with
rockets?
the adjective
from one
and the
category.
subset.
If you're here, Bob, who's building rockets
subcategory from the
somewhere?
main category, correct?
A subset of the set of the nouns, yeah. Or the
Okay, so if
set
it's a
of the
subcategory from
particular
the main
noun.
category, Right. So then that means it's under it, which means it has to share a common characteristic. Correct?
For a subset?
Yeah.
Well, if it's a subset, then it's contained within the other.
So there has to be a common characteristic, or at least
Well, that's kind of
characteristic or
like,
characteristics, right?
yeah, if they're in the, yeah. I'm not sure what you're
Not for
even
anyone
asking.
else?
This seems like a little bit rhetorical.
Is he cutting out for anyone else? Did he cut out for anyone else?
No, I think that's just you.
Okay. Okay, so if they're right, if a subcategory right is under the category, well then that means it still has to share the common characteristic or characteristics of the category. So then you have to, I guess, define the category and then show how either this subcategory or your subset, right, bears that common characteristic.
But what was in dispute was whether or not trans women form a subset of women, which I was denying. And Nate was saying that I'm committed to some sort of contradiction.
What do you take as woman then?
Well, do you acknowledge that that's not necessarily contradictory? To say that trans can function as non-subsective?
It depends on how you're using. It depends on how you're using the words.
So
right?
I just explained what a subset was.
Hold on. If you haven't defined the category, I have no way of knowing if you are adhering to the subcategory. Right? If I don't know what the category is defined as, I don't know what common characteristic the subcategory has. Therefore, I can't say if it is succinct. Right? So, what do you take the category of woman to be?
That's not even. It's just the idea of it even being intelligible to say that trans women are not a subset of women.
So you're not even talking about the terms themselves. You're just talking about the analytics.
It's saying that some trans women are women, some aren't. Do you take issue with that, like Nate did?
What is a woman? What is the category?
Are you asking? Okay, if you want to have the conversation of like, what is a woman and defining, that's okay, but you realize that's kind of separate from what we were talking about with Nate, right?
If you're just speaking about the analytics of the dialectic, well, and sure, in some idiosyncratic usage of the
I'm talking
terms,
about what was being spoken about with Nate and how that is different from what you're trying to the conversation you're trying to have.
Okay, well, like again, if you're trying to ask me if what you did was, I guess, succinct, well, I can't know that unless I know what the category is. Then what exactly you're trying to? Then what are you exactly positing here?
Okay, what I was saying is that I'm not committed to a contradiction by saying that some trans women are women and some aren't.
Well, here's the thing, though. You have shown yourself to be bad faith because you're just. Hold on, I'll show you how. The reason everybody took you, and I think Nate was justified in taking you as bad faith, is because you're not defining the category. You're just talking about how categories work.
But he made that criticism prior to me defining anything. So how is that bad faith?
Again, because you're not defining the category, right? You're
He
just talking about
came to that conclusion prior to me defining anything to him.
Okay, well then I guess I missed that part. So then can you
define the category now? That was the beginning of the conversation.
Can you define the category now? I probably wasn't there for the beginning.
Okay.
So can you define the category now?
Yeah. If you want to have a separate conversation, we can. So woman can just be understood. Woman can just be.
I just want to know like how you and the dialectic went with you and Nate.
Woman can just be understood as just like you're a woman if you're an individual who meets a sufficient amount of weighted characteristics that we typically associate with adult human females. So the reason why only some trans women would be women is because some meet a sufficient amount of the weighted characteristics, whereas others don't. So the categories overlap. The categories overlap, but it's not one-to-one in such a way that like every trans woman is going to be a woman.
A sufficient amount of conditions.
Weighted characteristics.
Weighted characteristics, excuse me. And what would those weighted characteristics be?
There's just like a trend of traits that co-occur with an individual being an adult human female. Those can be biological, like things like one's reproductive system, or like secondary sex characteristics, but it could also be things that are social in the sense of like we typically associate like having long hair. Wait, what?
You're blending fact and fiction together then.
What's fiction about what I just said?
that
Right? Because if you're just talking about
women
the
express
social.
themselves
Hold
in
on, can we
certain ways.
pause? Sorry guys.
All right.
Shrimp, are we still doing money pee pee to drop?
Yeah, I mean, somebody just did it, and I didn't even have the sticker over it. Where'd my sticker go? But they did it. If you want to come up here, I'll give you your money pew pew back. But
Yeah, we're doing like a kind of a 1v1 between Tony and Bob. So let's keep Bob up here. I can drop, you can come up, and
I can
Shrimp or I
also.
can
I'll give it
reimburse
back to
you.
I
you.
can drop beans. It's okay. Like if they want to
Okay,
come.
Right
we'll
now,
bring you back up, babe.
Right now, I'm just trying to examine the dialectic that went down between Nate and
No, you're
Bob.
good. I just don't like fucking with people's
You
money, you
aren't
know?
though,
Yeah.
because you already said that we're going into. I already told you that the conversation of what a woman is going separate territory. But whatever.
Okay, so then you and Nate didn't even at all discuss what a woman is? You just
Nope.
discussed the usage of
The
categories
whole
and subcategories?
the whole dispute was whether or not I'm committed to a contradiction by saying that trans woman or trans is a non-subjective adjective.
Well,
that
we
was the
don't know
entire
what
Kristen,
dialogue.
unprivate. I'm
we
sorry,
can't
guys.
tell unless you
Kristen,
tell us what that
unprivate your
is.
account and request step, please, so we can give you back your money. Thank you, gentlemen. Continue.
Actually, Nate did that prior to me defining anything, so he
What,
definitely
he asked you what a trans woman is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, he didn't or he did? Like, what did Nate do, I guess?
He opened up by saying that to say that some trans women are women doesn't make sense because you're saying that trans is subsective and non-subsective simultaneously, which is what the contradiction was. Then he followed that by saying that to say that trans is non-subsective is just to say that no trans women are women.
Okay, so then again, you weren't being charitable in your principle again. And Bob, I've had this problem with you in the past, right? So
what's not charitable?
Okay, great. I'll show you how. Seeing as those words came out of Nate's mouth, well, then doesn't it mean that Nate is speaking about his worldview? Would you agree?
Nate is speaking about his worldview when he says that there's a contradiction.
He's using his worldview as the point of reference. Would you agree?
I can't see why he would be. No.
So he's talking about your worldview?
When I would hope that if he's like making a critique about something being contradictory, he wouldn't be speaking with respect to his own worldview, because that would be kind of crazy. Say, here's a contradiction in my
so he was
worldview.
talking about yours?
Address
whose
it.
worldview was he talking about then?
He was making it was a criticism to my worldview.
Okay, a criticism. So then it
But
was
you
an
said you never
external
gave
critique.
it though. You said you never gave that to him.
No, I said that prior to him asserting that there was a contradiction, he never asked me anything about what a woman was. He made that assertion prior. That's what I said.
Actually, and you said.
Okay, so
that's just a lie. I'm
He
not
did,
sure
and
how to
you
indicate
actually
that.
said, you know what you said? You said, oh, so you're basically asking me what a woman is, and he's like, go ahead, and he's like, that's not what you.
Did that happen after or prior to him first saying that I'm committed to a contradiction?
That happened before that.
That's a lie.
Hold on. So when he made that statement, that's what I'm telling
just a lie.
That's what I'm telling you.
Bob.
Okay.
Bob, okay, so when he made that, right, he did make an external critique of your position, so that presupposes that Nate holds a view that is either superior or more authoritative, and I think he was justifying that. So
I don't even know what you're saying at this point now, to be honest.
You don't
Tony.
know? Well, because again, if Nate was examining your worldview, and he rejects something that you said, right? He now is no longer operating from an internal critique, at least respective to the point being made. So then that means he switched to external critique, which means he now he's operating from his point of view, and he's positing a superior or more authoritative point and or definition. So it sounds like the dispute was whether his view was superior or not. So it sounds like that's the dispute. Do you agree?
No.
Okay, so
no, I don't know why you're telling, like respectfully. I don't know why you're telling me if you weren't even there for the conversation.
What's an external critique?
Like I told you, the external critique would be using things that aren't directly affirmed by one's worldview in order to like say that there's an issue with it. So there's usually like a set of things that you want to say is true inside of a worldview.
I said, what is an external critique? Okay, and here's the thing: you don't have to externally critique the entire thing. You can externally critique either a definition or a point. Okay, I'm just saying. So it sounds like Nate heard something that you said, rejected it, and in rejecting it, he was explaining the rejection, meaning he now has to put forth his either word usage, his term, or his belief as superior. He now has to justify that, and it sounds like he was doing that. You two were disputing over that.
Are you like going to tell me how the conversation happened?
But
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you that those are the only possibilities. I'm telling you that those are the only possibilities. If you started off giving your position, but didn't clarify certain things, and then Nate rejects something that you said, well, then that means the point of reference is that he's using himself, meaning by his own understanding, either that's incorrect or he has a dispute with it. And if
What
that is the
sense does
case,
that even make?
hold on, let me finish. And if that is the case, then that means he's no longer internally critiquing you, he's externally critiquing, he's positing what he knows or his point as superior, and so you two were contending over that. You were staying in your worldview, he was staying in his. And so the dispute was over whether the external critique was more superior or not, because that's what happens when you get into an external critique.
So if his critique was that I'm committed to a contradiction, why would that be external?
Well, the reason it's an external critique is because he's now no longer operating under your worldview or the information given. He's now using himself as a point of reference. So the dispute should have been about whether his usage or his view of it was superior or more authoritative.
When you say he's using himself as a point of reference, are you saying that he's like affirming something that I don't affirm?
He's using his worldview, and essentially whatever point is in dispute, he's positing his understanding or his
to come to a contradiction?
No, he's positing it as superior. So the dispute
to
was...
come to a contradiction?
What contradiction? Again, see,
this is what
a contradiction.
Why are you...
It's a contradiction. Bro, what contradiction? It's a contradiction under your worldview.
Then that would be internal.
Again, no, you're just operating from your understanding. Okay, so let me put it to you this way.
If it's a contradiction within my worldview, then that would be an internal critique.
No, he's...
What do you mean, no?
What? Bro, Bob, stay with me. Him rejecting what you said now shifts it to external critique. That means he's operating from his understanding. You refuse to leave your worldview, it seems like. So the dispute is over whether the information he's positing is more succinct or superior. And that's what the dispute should have been about, or should have been, I guess, clarified.
There you go, babe.
Are you just like giving me advice? Is that what's going on? Are you... I don't understand.
I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling you that those are the only possibilities. If he rejects what you said, that means he's operating in his worldview or understanding.
I mean, I'm sorry that happened, or congratulations. I don't know what to tell you.
Wait, what? Okay. I'm just trying to explain to you how you can avoid at least getting stuck in that loop of going back and forth like that. The dispute should have been...
So you are giving me advice?
No, I'm not giving you advice. I'm telling you why you guys kept going back and forth. You guys didn't understand that you were stuck in an external critiquing. You didn't understand that you should have been critiquing his usage if you didn't view it as superior. So you guys didn't clarify.
Okay.
There was no critiquing his usage if you didn't... What was that noise?
I think Hope is loading in a little slow. Hope, I'm going to drop you again, and then I'll rise you. Continue.
Right, so I think that's why you two were talking past each other, because you were holding on to your interpretation, your worldview of it, and I think the only way the conversation could have progressed is if you now critiqued his external critique.
Thank you.
So I think that's why you guys would have been stuck going back and forth, I think, like that, unless that happened.
Sorry that happened, or whatever. I don't know what to say.
Okay, so then the way to avoid that, and maybe you can avoid this now, define the category for me, please.
Wait, did you ask me something? Sorry, I put my phone
Yes,
on.
can you define the category?
Oh, okay, so you want to have like the whole what a woman is debate.
Well, I want to understand what you were positing with Nate.
That didn't happen in our conversation. I already told you that.
Okay, but you were positing something, correct? What were you positing? I want to understand this.
What I posited was that you're not committed to a contradiction by saying that certain individual, like, just assume that we have a generic, like, non-subjective adjective. To say that that adjective combined with a noun is not in the set of like objects that are the noun is not a contradiction. That's actually expected because that's what it would mean to say that a particular adjective is non-subjective.
Well, okay, so if the adjective being used here, right, in this category, I guess the only way we would know if it's even either consistent analytically or if it's just true factually, but the only way we'd know that is if we know what the category is.
That's fine. If you're saying that for the sake of this conversation, you would like to know, that's okay. But like I said, that would be different from what me and Nate were talking about.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to understand here, like, again, and I'm trying to understand.
Look, bro, we can just have the what is a woman like discussion. That's fine.
Bro, I want to focus on what you two are discussing. I want to understand what...
was anyone else there?
No, that was about as far as
Was there anyone else there that isn't like super fucking biased?
I think I would rather
yes,
just
dude,
start it.
I want you to explain.
I think we would rather maybe start fresh instead of like picking up where the conversation was left off, because I do agree, actually. I don't think the conversation actually even got to that point.
Yeah, no, it just was pretty much what you guys have discussed. That was it.
Right.
And then it got shut down, so.
Yeah, so I would either start over rather than like picking up where they left off, but it's whatever y'all want to do. Also, let's get the host to 10K likes. She's hot. Thanks.
Well, the reason I want to clarify this point, or I want to know, is because I think your unwillingness to disclose it shows that you're being bad faith.
No, I'm more than willing to disclose it. It's just that every time I do, you keep emphasizing that multiple people already told you that the discussion with Nate didn't get there. So when I say, yeah, we can talk about it, it's just that when we go there, we're no longer talking about what what was being spoken about with Nate. And you say, well, no, I just specifically want to keep the conversation there, specifically on what you and Nate talked about. And I say, okay, well then that wouldn't include me defining woman.
Are you just saying that Nate fell short in assuming, or probably not clarifying what you meant? Is that kind of where you're getting at?
Look, if you want to ask me later,
the circumstance of the ending of their conversation, I think is what he's trying to
do. Fine. Then maybe let's just start from the beginning. Then, what is the category that you are referencing, and what is the category you're referencing of woman? What are you taking woman to be a category? Is that what's going on here?
Well, that's kind of assumed already, I think. Yeah, woman is a category.
Yes. Okay, woman is a category, correct. Okay, awesome. Define the category, please.
Yeah, you can just say that woman. You can take like really any cluster view of woman, I feel like. Just as long as you know that like the adult human female falls short, then you can just say anything, like an individual who meets a sufficient amount of weighted traits that we associate with adult human females. Anything along those lines.
What is that? How would I know a woman when I saw one? Or if how would I know?
How would you know?
Or how would I be justified in assuming, or I guess justified in
the same way that you're justified in assuming that someone's a woman currently? There are traits that you typically associate with adult human females, and on your like immediate assessment of an individual, you can I'm like a little bit lost here. You look at someone, you can assess the traits that they have, and you don't even really have to think too much about it. You would just automatically like be like, this individual is a woman.
What cluster or what characteristics am I observing that?
When you observe, well, I feel like this is kind of a silly question as well. When you observe someone, you're going to be able to see things like their phenotypic traits, at least things surrounding like the secondary sex characteristics. Like in the case of a woman, you might observe like extra or excess breast tissue. They might have a different sort of like ratio between their hips and their shoulders, fat distributions, and they might be like expressing themselves in a certain way, right? They might be like clean shaven. They might have like long hair, like, I don't know. They might have a Brazilian balayage.
So how
wearing
many
makeup.
Balayage, Robert. Balayage.
How many characteristics does somebody need to have to fall under the category?
It's not going to be like some set quantity because they're weighted. That would undermine the idea that these characteristics are weighted.
So they're weighted. And so what would tip the weight in favor of believing this is a woman then?
I just explained. It's going to be like, let's just suppose that
Like
Let's
one
just imagine that
characteristic,
they're
would that hold enough weight?
what?
One weighted characteristic, would that hold enough weight?
Well, we can just suppose that one individual has like, I don't know, you have like a blob and that blob has a vagina. Maybe not.
Okay, 2 weighted characteristics, would that be enough to
Why are
believe?
you, look, if you're going to go to 3 after I say probably not 2 and then go to 4,
I'm just
it
trying to
just
figure
seems
out when
like
the
what you're looking
scales tip.
for. Wait, hold on. It just looks like what you're looking for is a quantity, which I already asserted doesn't.
Well, I guess
It doesn't, there's no set quantity.
I'm just trying to figure out where the scales tip.
What do you mean? Where does the scales tip? Can you like?
You said weighted
Can you?
categories,
Can you?
so that means there's got to be something that'll tip the scale, right?
Yeah. Can you? Okay. Maybe let's see if you agree with this. There are characteristics that you say would co-occur strongly, more strongly, with an individual who's the adult human female as opposed to like otherwise.
Sure.
Okay. So would you say that like typically women or adult human females are shorter than adult human males?
If we're using America's national average, then I would say yes, average, yes.
Okay. Would you say that if you were to know only one fact about about a person, and that was that they're short, would that meaningfully like tip the scale to them being a woman as opposed to a man?
I would say that if you don't know anything else, then you can probably make a gamble considering the odds. The odds would be in your favor.
Yeah, it would be less, like you could make a gamble, but like just given that fact alone, it's probably not enough that you're like, well, yeah, this person's like a woman, right? But if I told you something like, well, they have a female reproductive system and they can give birth.
Right. So,
And that's the only fact that you know about them. Would you say that
then,
that would tip the scale more?
I would say that would be enough for like at least a 99% chance.
Okay,
right?
so you get the idea of like there's traits that co-occur with adult human females, and that those traits will be weighted in such a way that they can tip the scale more.
Is one of the traits.
Great. I understand. Hold
So
on,
why
no,
do you
Bob,
keep like trying to fish for some like quantity when that would
I'll tell you
undermine this
why,
idea
Bob.
of weightedness?
Bob, I'll tell you why. Because when we talked about, when the question was, if you recall, was if I'm looking at someone, what characteristics can I evaluate? Because clearly I can't see, and you guys have made it a point to, many times that I can't see what's inside someone. So I guess what weighted characteristics from just pure external observation can I make that are weighted and that would?
Yeah, it's going to be, well, to explain it again, I guess, there are phenotypical characteristics that you would say that would co-occur more frequently in adult human females as opposed to otherwise. That could be the composition of one's body, like one's silhouette, right? If I just told you that an individual has like wide hips, narrow shoulders, and big boobs, right? Would those set of facts like lead you to believe that this individual is a man or a woman?
I think in the current time period and trend, yes, but it sounds like to me a different time
Then
period
that's
and
an
trend.
answer.
Hold on. It sounds like to me though, your standard or your criteria is just dependent on what shifts with the times, right? Because let's
That's
say
not
a certain
even
way to.
so like
Hold on.
even if I said yes to that, Tony, your question was simply if you go out and you observe someone, what traits are you going to look to determine whether or not they're a woman or a man? Those traits seem to be sufficient. So can we move on to, can you make a point or like move on to something else?
Okay. Well, the point that I'm trying to make here is that, right, it's all these things sure can be used to maybe like make a good estimation. And if you're just talking about weighted characteristics, and some of it's going to be social and some of it's going to be like phenotypical expression, right? Or biological, right? Would be some of it biological, and then also the social. It sounds like to me you're blending the fact and the fiction, and I guess
What's
more so the conversation.
Fiction there.
The social aspect.
The social aspect is fiction. What do you mean by that?
Right. So when I talk about, let's say, like things that are social constructions or things of that sort, right? I'm saying that they're entirely dependent to be upheld or beholden by the mind. And then once the mind either perishes or is just maybe somehow not self-aware, right, that concept would vanish, right? But when we talk about, let's say, like an identity state, or the state of being, right, that wouldn't disappear whether somebody's aware of it or not.
Are you
So I
talking
guess the
about
question
things
is,
that are subjective? You're saying that it's fiction in the case that it's subjective?
I'm saying that it's entirely dependent for the mind to behold it for its existence, and that it would vanish
Okay.
if the awareness vanished.
Okay.
Right, but the state of being would remain. The state of being would remain. So I guess the question is,
Okay, so you're saying that
right?
there are mind-dependent things. Those things are fiction? Things that depend entirely on the mind are fiction?
I would say yes, that are entirely dependent on the
I
mind.
don't even know what to say.
Beholden up at.
I don't
Right.
even know what
So
to say in
again,
response to that. That's kind of
right.
really
So,
odd usage of fiction.
well, because the reason I say fiction, right? Fiction essentially means abstractual and intangible, right? So when I say fiction, I'm saying it's abstract and intangible. I cannot behold it. So
I don't even know if that's like the common understanding of fiction. When I hear fiction, when I think of something that's just like not true, it's made up.
Right. Well, I guess.
What do you mean,
say
right?
that
There are obviously mind-dependent things
Sure.
that aren't just made up.
Great. Okay. Well, hold on. I know. Sure, you could say it that way,
Then
but here's the
those wouldn't
distinction.
be conceptually equivalent.
Okay. Are you done, man? I'll explain to you the
You
distinction.
can go ahead.
All right. So the distinction between, let's say, like an abstraction and just like a concept, right? Because a concept is also intangible, right? The difference is that like a concept, right, is still grounded in, let's say, something that's transcendental, which still makes it grounded in fact. So it can be intangible and still be grounded in fact, whereas in a fiction is not grounded in fact, right? It's not.
Is this supposed to be like what's going on here? Can you make a point, please?
Well, I would if you would stop, interrupting for every little thing.
Let you go on with that. It just seems like you're taking me down some random rabbit hole. I'm not sure if I'm high right now.
Bro, I'm just saying that it seems like everything that entails the category of woman that you're referring to can change either just with a shift in populace or behavior or mannerisms, or let's just say it becomes a trend for everybody to be bald, right? The criteria and everything like that can completely shift, but the only thing that would be constant would be the biology. So you're mixing some aspect of biological and then some aspect of social performance, which just seems very unintuitive to me.
What? Okay, if like your whole thing was just supposed to lead back to like somehow unintuitive to you. Okay, sure, it's unintuitive to you, Tony. Not sure how, even though like I gave you multiple examples where you clearly didn't know much about a person's biology, yet you were like, yeah, this person's more likely to be a woman as opposed to man. Somehow unintuitive.
We're assuming there's specs in all instances, though.
Manimal.
Right, and Bob, all this proves is that people.
Wait, I didn't even get to finish my point, though.
Wrong. All right, sure.
Like, I'm not sure. Is the idea that I prove that your intuition is wrong? I don't even know what that means. But
no, it just means you fail to account, right? Because when we analyze things, right, there's the variables.
Well, no, like, can your intuitions even be true or false?
Are you done, dude? Are you okay? You good, buddy?
Well, look, if my burden is somehow to like
enough with the performative, like fucking.
It's not performative laughter. I'm genuinely laughing.
Calm down. And what's so funny then? I guess tell us.
Oh, I just told you. Like, is the expectation that like I just I quote unquote disprove your intuition? Like, what do I do with that? It's unintuitive to you, okay?
Well, I would also say that it just can't happen because fact and fiction do not blend. I would also say that it just can't happen.
What?
Right?
Okay. What do you mean by fact?
Right. Again, fact
you mean like a true proposition?
That which aligns with reality.
Okay. Why would those be mutually exclusive? The way that you define fact and fiction don't seem to be mutually exclusive at all.
Do you remember what I defined the distinction between a concept and an abstraction? Or fiction?
What does that have to do with fact and fiction?
So that's the difference right there.
Are concept and what else?
An abstraction.
Abstraction. Are those like equivalent to fact and fiction?
Abstraction would just be fiction, yeah. And then when we talk about a concept would still be grounded in fact.
Okay. So you're saying that abstraction is equivalent to fiction, which is equivalent to something that depends on a mind, and then fact is
it's entirely dependent on a mind.
Dependent on a mind.
And essentially it's not grounded factually. Right?
Oh, now you're just baking in the mutual exclusivity.
The mutual. Well, again, fact and fiction are by their very nature, right? They can't commingle. Right? Fact is immutable, and fiction by its very nature is mutable because that can change with the condition of mind.
That's maybe in like what normal people mean when they say fact and fiction, sure. But the way you've like described fact and fiction are so like divorced from what most people mean. I'm not even sure like the way that you've defined them would result in mutual exclusivity without like the additional.
Tony, you're breaking up.
It doesn't matter. Bob, I explained.
You're breaking up.
Bob.
Oh boy. You're breaking up a little bit. Hopeless. Did you have something that you wanted to add?
I can hear him now.
I kind of did, actually. I kind of wanted to just ask, why does it feel like we're jumping around and just dancing around the idea of falsifiable and non-falsifiable claims? Like, it just feels like that's all we're doing is dancing around this concept of falsifiable and non-falsifiable claims.
And the problem is that Bob here is trying to blend fact and fiction together, and no matter how much.
Well,
he just
I'm getting
on what
unalive.
he said rather than actually address the point.
Okay, Tony, hold on. To Bob's credit, you can, when making a category, blend social structures like law with something that is also biological, right? We do this with adult human female. Adult is a legal term. Adult is technically a legal term.
Again, that isn't hopeless. That doesn't negate what I'm saying. I'm not saying that artifices cannot be made and used. In fact, there are very useful artifices that are made, let's say, like, I don't know, the monetary system, right? That monetary system is still like based off some unit of weights and measures, right? And so that's how essentially it's a game, right? You know somebody's cheating when they don't follow the rules of the game, right? It's the same thing with the game that they've created, which they call commerce, right? It's called Monopoly, right? Like the game Monopoly, right? You know somebody cheated when they don't follow the rules. So yes, I agree with you that artifices can be created and people play the game, quote unquote. And so I guess the distinction I'm making here with Bob is that he's blending fact and fiction together, and I guess trying to posit that
is the inconsistency in his statement, at least from my point of view, right? Like, there's an inconsistency in the concepts that are being applied and how they're being.
Hopeless, dude. You're not helping right now. Please. Let me finish my conversation with him. So, Bob, again, can you please address the point? Why should we accept the category that you're positing, which is just some set of weighted characteristics, this category of weighted characteristics, which seems to blend both fact and fiction together?
So the whole fact or fiction thing, I'm not even sure how meaningful of a critique that is because, like, oh my gosh.
I asked you a question.
Wait, hold on.
Why should we accept this?
I'm answering it. So if you're asking me why should we accept it to be the case, I'm not making any sort of claim as to whether or not you should or shouldn't accept it. I doubt you're going to accept it. What you just asked me was,
motivate the view.
This conversation, wait, hold on. I think that's a little bit inappropriate to ask because this conversation initiated by like the critique of me somehow being committed to a contradiction, right? But now you're asking me to like motivate why you should accept it.
Didn't you say we're starting a whole new conversation?
Start from the beginning was what was said.
Pill, I think had his hand up in the comments, and I just want to make sure everybody's feeling like they're able to speak. So, Pill, did you have something that you wanted to add?
I submit my time and give it back to Tony.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
So, yeah, I thought we were starting from the beginning, which is why I asked you to define the category so that we can know how the subcategory has a common characteristic, right? Then the category that you define. I'm still talking.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to recap. Tell me if I got something out of whack. Correct me if I.
I was doing that. Start from the beginning of the conversation that would, what I thought would lead to you making some sort of critique about whether or not it is true that
right now I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I've told you that, which right now I don't think anybody really does so far. All we know so far is that you use the word woman as a category. You've affirmed that. Then you've affirmed the category is reliant on some set of weighted characteristics, and this is the category of woman. I asked what weighted characteristics, right? And when we kind of delved into the characteristics, some set of it seemed to rely on biology, which is fact, because that's verifiable, and so those facts are immutable. So that's what makes them fact.
Why would that follow?
And then we talked about
oh God.
And then when we talk, because they're verifiable and they're immutable.
Why? Okay,
right?
They're verifiable and they're immutable. You're not saying they're verifiable, thus they're immutable. Am I getting that wrong? You're not saying that something being verifiable implies that it's immutable?
I said they're verifiable and they are immutable.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, just getting clarification.
Relax. Okay, and so then you also blended some social characteristics that tend to, I guess, be about presentation or behavior, which can shift with the culture. So that isn't exactly something stable. So I guess what a woman can change with the culture. The only consistent thing in your definition is the biology, correct?
I'm not even sure what you mean by consistent. Do you mean consistent as in like
it's
that
unchanging?
Like your biology is like whether or not you have a female reproductive system isn't something that's unchanging. So I'm not even sure.
No, when I say unchanging, I'm saying that the biological facts that you've said. Okay, maybe we should just clarify that then. What biological facts contribute to the category of woman that you've outlined for us?
Is that a question?
Yes, I said maybe we should clarify. What biological facts? I said okay, maybe this is where we need further clarification. What biological facts? Right, contribute to your categorical definition of woman?
But I already answered this. It's co-occurrence with individuals who are adult human females. So how likely something is to co-occur with an individual who's an adult human female is going to, one, be considered, and two, it's like co-occurrence or like how often it co-occurs will like speak on like how weighty it is.
Okay, so then the category of woman entails adult human female as the biological basis, and then the other aspects of the category that are co-occurrence are social performances and behaviors and appearances or aesthetics?
Do you want me to just repeat over what the definition is?
Is that a good summation? Is that what's encompassed?
I mean, like, it's like acceptable given that you like don't interpret it as like a set of necessary and sufficient conditions, which is what my worry is. But if you aren't, then yeah, we can just move ahead with that.
So adult human female is not necessary, and then the social component is not necessary either?
It's a cluster, so I feel like that's a nonsense question to ask.
Okay, so then, no, it's not a nonsense question to ask, because again,
that's just what it means to say that something's a cluster concept. So it kind of is.
Okay, if it's a cluster concept, then you have to give me the cluster, and if again, we're gonna be right back where we were before.
No, we're gonna be right back where we were before if you didn't understand initially, which was that we have a set of traits. Those traits are traits that, or they're first weighted, and they're weighted based on their co-occurrence with adult human females. So you have those.
Okay, so then those are the social aspects, right?
Those can be a plethora of things because a trait is not necessarily just social. It's not just necessarily biological. It can be more.
Okay, maybe we should clarify some more. Is this entailing behavior / performance and aesthetics, or one or the other?
It's in any trait that co-occurs with an adult human female, we can say.
Any trait so
yeah, so that can be things about
any trait that a trans
necessary. The necessary for the category is adult human female, and then the I guess the mutable aspect of your view is going to be the social and or presentation /
What do you mean by the immutable?
When I say immutable, I'm just saying that that's the fixed thing in your categorical outlining.
Fixed mean like if you're somehow like getting to saying that this is fixed in the sense that like social things can't ever change.
I said adult human female.
Oh, I mean, if you're saying that like biology can never change, then I'm still kind of confused by that. Because let's just say that an individual has a vagina. You can like lose your vagina. That's totally possible. It's not immutable. You having vagina is not mutable or immutable.
So then, again, somebody has to currently possess one then, or no?
Oh my god. You know what? Let me just like.
Bob, it seems like you just don't want to commit to anything.
Oh my god.
It sounds like
you
this
just
is what I'm
asked
getting.
me. No. You just asked me if there's a necessary condition. Is having a vagina a necessary condition?
Hold on. I said it. Hold on.
Is it required? Do you have to presently have it?
Bro, right now I want to know how the category is defined. It seems like so far you've said any of those weighted characteristics that co-occur with adult human female. Therefore, no matter the weighted characteristic, it must co-occur with adult human female. Yes? Is that correct?
He just keeps saying it's a sufficient amount, but he won't tell us what that sufficient amount is. So.
I'm gonna... Is Kiki here?
Bob, can you just please answer
Wait,
that?
is Kiki here? Is someone here who's listening? Kiki, have you been listening?
Oh, hell no, I have not been listening.
Oh, God.
Bob, are you wanting to like tap out?
I'm low-key wanting to tap out. This is like
Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Bob, I just really want you to answer that, please.
Yeah, it's all right.
I honestly, there's several people in the request, but I don't know their stances.
Who are they? Say their names.
It's the ethicist and illogical.
Illogical.
Is someone okay?
I don't know what.
I'm sorry, I don't know a lot of the people in here.
I know who the ethicist is.
Yeah, ethicist is probably GC, I think.
Okay.
No.
You ever thought about maybe just asking them?
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of trying without being like direct. I don't want to call them
put it in the chat. Can you please
put it in the chat?
Clarify if that's what you mean.
Oh, we keep going in circles, and it's low-key like unaliving me on the inside. Yeah. We can come back to it another time.
I don't think we are. I think we're actually getting somewhere.
Question.
We are.
I do have a question, Bob. Does your definition function in any capacity without the sex categories?
I'm sorry, you cut out in the middle. Something sex categories.
So can your system, right? Can your system for figuring out who is man and woman function without any sex category whatsoever?
Well, I'd say no.
So it is contingent upon sex.
If you mean contingent, if you're saying like conceptually, like you would have to have an understanding of like sex to have an understanding of like gender. That's fine, but that shouldn't be conflated with like.
I'll be right back. Someone is.
That shouldn't be conflated with like.
I'll be back.
One needs.
Well, that's not the claim that I'm making just yet, right? That's not going to be the claim that I'm going to make, right? That's just the assertion that I'm trying to understand from you is so these two are dependent upon each other in some factor.
Yeah.
Now, how much the factor is going to be the dispute. So
it's necessary.
Well, it's not about how much. It's that those are two different like claims. So like when you say like conceptually,
it's about having sufficient amount.
Well, just hold on, Manimal. Just hold on, Manimal. Okay. So that's not to be conflated with like one needs to be a particular sex to be like man or woman. You're just saying that like to understand man or woman, you first have to like have a classification of like the sexes, which is yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So we have a degree issue here, right? Because we think that you must be this thing. You think that there is some degree off of that you can be, but still be assumed that.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by degree issue because
basically
look,
you can be. You don't have to be directly that thing, but you can be perceived as that thing.
Yeah, it's not like whether or not something's necessary isn't a degree issue. It's like either the case it is or it isn't. So there's no degree issue. It's that what I'm denying is that being female is a necessary condition for being a woman, and being male is a necessary condition for being like a man.
But the concept of woman can't exist without female.
You said there had to be
but those are
with adult human female.
That's what I was saying earlier. That like you shouldn't get confused by those two things because they're different from each other. Like to assert that like conceptually, there's like the conceptual framework of man or woman is built off of like female and male is not to say that any particular individual need be female in order to belong to the category of woman. So they're distinct in that way.
Difference between them.
Well, so this is where then I have to go, like, what is my motivation to, like, take that to be, right? Like, what is the logic that I follow there?
Well, the logic isn't going to get you any sort of, like, motivation. Like, there's no... if you're asking me like why would it be the case that an individual need not be female to be like a woman, it would just be like, just imagine, well, first we can argue it through it like a reductio, like just assume that it is true that to be a woman you need to be female, and then like however you posit female, you're gonna have like ridiculous counterexamples that no one would accept. So if you can reject that, then it doesn't seem like anything that I'm
Really?
saying becomes
I'm
like
sorry.
super
I'm sorry, really quick.
unpalatable.
I'm sorry, really quick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be helpful here, guys. If you're in the requests, can you just let me know what your stance is so I can accept the right people? We have quite a few, for lack of a better word, GCs up here. Bob's been arguing for probably an hour now,
Wait,
and
what's
he's
a
getting a little
GC?
tired. Please don't do this to me right now, Paul. So if you maybe want to help Bob out, let me know your stance in the comments, please, so we can accept the right people.
He needs lots of help.
What did I do?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah, 'cause,
live
like,
for about 53 minutes, so you guys almost an hour.
So,
Yeah, this is like analyzing me a little bit.
by necessary though. So
What?
Yeah. So Bob, I feel like I'm understanding, right? So is it like, although we understand in some cases like a woman can mean an adult human female, if we can use this word as like a reference point to trans women, then potentially they can be included within that category. So like,
I
women
mean,
would just
like
be
you can
extended to,
say
like,
the adult
kind of
human female is
connotational
like
way.
a good approximation. I think if your question is like, can we use adult human female in some context and like mean it as something else, like woman as adult human female in some
No.
context, and then use it in
That's not
something
what I'm
else?
saying. I'm saying if we
Oh,
use
okay.
that as a reference point, can we just say that rather than a woman meaning an adult human female, it can be something connotation. Therefore, trans women can be included within that.
Like adult human female is some connotation of woman. I mean, if you could be saying something similar, like
No, I'm saying, is that what
like
you're saying?
what you're saying is that it's maybe an approximation, like it's like a, I guess
Bob,
reference point would be a
I
good
don't
way
care
of
for what
saying it.
I'm
That's
saying. I'm saying, is that a near enough accurate understanding of what you're saying?
I'm not saying that particularly. What I'm saying is that what Hopeless seemed to ask me is that like our understanding of gender derives, at least in part, from our understanding of sex, or that like the concepts derive from, or our concepts of gender derive from sex. I'm saying yes, but I'm making a distinction that to say that isn't to say, or shouldn't be confused with saying something like
I'm saying, is
one
gender
need be a particular sex to be
But I'm saying,
gender.
is gender
How
to you
masculinity
the
and femininity
connotational thing?
operate.
That's what I'm asking.
Is gender the
Turtle, can I get
connotation
your
of? I'm
age
sorry, I
really
didn't hear what you
quick?
said.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
Turtle,
basically
can you
How
tell me?
saying,
masculinity and
is
femininity
gender the thing?
operate.
Wait. We need
I
age of
can't
turtle.
hear. Yes. Thank you. I can't hear a fucking thing anyone saying. Yeah, did you say no? Okay, thank you. It is open panel. Jump in, please. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing I'll say is just like to piggyback off what Bob said. It seems to like a lot of conflating with we can use this word woman or this gender to refer to a sex category, but people up here are conflating it with they have to be, right? It's a necessary condition without properly justifying it.
Can you tell
Well,
us?
he said it had to run in concurrence with adult human female.
Never said concurrence. I said that you have a set of traits, and those traits are going to be weighted specifically based on like their co-occurrence
It
with
kind
adult
of
human
operates
females.
the same way the word
adult
the
human
femininity.
females is.
If I could just help out here, like it's not like what he's saying is that it basically operates the same way that masculinity and femininity operate, right? Like we can do a lot of associations with femininity is obviously going to be associated with female human beings, with like especially the physical traits. Masculinity is going to be associated with male traits. Is that what you're saying? How like man and woman operate as well? And this kind of like loose association with the sexes. Is that what you're saying, Bob?
Honestly, I'm not even opposed to saying something like, if that's your understanding of masculinity and femininity, like these traits that are associated with males and females, then to say that isn't like, to say that is fine. That's good.
Basically saying the categories of masculinity and femininity can't exist without sex, but they're not necessarily just pointing to the sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So wait. So now what we need to know is what's the difference conceptually between men and women?
But this is the problem, because when you say the difference, the implication is that there exists some mutually exclusive, like, trait. There exists some mutual exclusivity between being a man or a woman that I would be able to point, like, oh, all men have penises and no women have penises. Well, no, that's
Bob, wouldn't there
obviously
still need
wrong.
to be some falsifiable differentiation?
Would it be true that all men have, or like, could we do a distinction between like male and female? Like, let's say cats.
No.
You say like all males aren't female cats based on the type of body that they have.
No, because then the issue is going to be, it's just going to run back into the mutual exclusivity and joint exhaustiveness problem, which is I do not believe anyone can solve.
So
it's just not going to be the case.
So hold on,
it's just not going to be the case that everyone is either male or female, not both on either.
The only difference
you
conceptually.
think that, let's say that there are some cats that are like male and female, and like, or maybe some cats that are neither male or female. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Give any account, like first in biology. It's not going to be some account of male and female that exhausts all individuals.
There is, though.
Oh my god!
It's so simple, dude.
He's gonna talk about a body plan that's organized.
Hold on.
It's having one type of body or another type of body. I don't know what I like.
Yeah, and then that body is
and jointly exhausted
down.
definition. Hold on.
It's mutually
man and woman, right? Even if they're not man and woman, but male and female. Yeah, mutually exclusive jointly. Even if there wasn't, right? All that would then be necessary under our definition is for you to be labeled as female in the categorical system due to some set of criteria, to be labeled as adult and to be labeled as human, right? Those labels just have to exist. What makes up those labels is irrelevant to the label of woman.
No, but then then he could say that some males can just be female.
Then we have a different contention, right? But then we have a different contention. But
they're arguing with each other.
Like those are I will, because Bob, I'm going to correct them if I think they're wrong. I don't care whose side they're on.
Look.
No, I just wasn't sure if you're talking to me or talking to Manimal, but
are any humans gorillas?
Huh?
Any humans gorillas? I'm asking Bob.
Oh.
Are any humans gorillas?
Gorillas, yeah.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what's the trait then that all humans have that no gorillas have?
Well, it's usually just going to be like something about the sequence of our DNA.
The sequence, but you're not specifying it because
it's a genome.
So gorillas have like 99% of the same DNA that we do. So what's the difference between human DNA and
you just gave it, and that's only with respect to our like protein encoding DNA.
Right.
Well, speciation.
You're not able. Wait, hold on.
Reproduce with
we
each
also
other.
have 99%
this is actually
DNA
like a great
with
example.
Bananas. Hold on. We also have similar, but you're not able to point to us like what the actual difference is. There's no conceptual difference.
The difference is that like if we're gonna entertain this idea of like the biological species concept, which is really a bad place to go, to be honest.
You think
to like make this idea of like, well, because it's kind of doubtful that species are anything outside of just like a tool that we use, given that biologists fail to give an account of species that function in like a set of necessary and sufficient conditions. We can just like adopt the biological species definition and say, well, it's because humans and gorillas cannot procreate, do not make viable offspring.
Yeah, and so that's how we understand. So like we could say that there's a certain a condition that an organism is that there's a condition that makes some sort of organism a gorilla, right? And that condition is going to be instantiated by whatever its DNA is, right? Right, Bob?
Yeah.
Right. So
can you
let's
make your point?
Let's say that there's like a gorilla condition, there's a human condition, right?
Can I like precog and just let me know if I'm wrong?
You agree?
Just let me know if I'm wrong. Are you gonna go into a spiel about how condition and trait are not the same?
Well, I'm just helping you kind of realize that there's a human condition, there's a gorilla condition, right?
It's not helping me realize anything. I feel like you're just helping me realize this is kind of a waste of time.
And there's no trait. There's no singular trait that we're going to point to.
There's
Humans
no singular
have two
trait.
eyes. Gorillas have two eyes. We both have hands. We both have feet. Right? We both have hair.
Yeah. Is this going to get to the point where you say that there's a difference between a trait and a condition?
Well,
Yes or no,
It
please.
could be. It could be.
Because
Is that
it's
one
not.
of the
It
things
could
that you're
be.
going to
Do you
realize?
have a point? What do you mean it could be? Do you have a point, Manimal?
I'm
Just
hoping that you're going to realize it.
explicitly-
I'm trying to
just
utilize the
explicitly
Socratic
lay out
method.
your
You're trying to
point.
predict what I might say, but yes, that is the point I'm trying to get. I'm trying to
Then
help you.
please,
I'm trying to help. I'm
stop
trying to help
acting
you get
so
to it.
Well, it could be what I'm trying to say. It's just a waste of time. I know that you're going to say it. You don't have to lead me down like a line of questioning about like basic things.
I was
I
hoping
get
that
it.
I didn't. Okay,
I
Bob,
get it, Manimal. You
Bob,
don't
if
have to
you
do
get
that.
it. Okay, so I wasn't wanting to say it. I was wanting you to say it. That was the point. I was wanting you to
said
understand.
this to you. I don't know. Do
So
you
now,
like
Bob,
get amnesia
Bob,
every time we talk? This happens every time we talk. You say there's a difference between condition and trait, and then
So
each
now you
time,
understand it then, right?
Just hold on. Each
do you
time in
understand
these
it or not?
conversations with you, I tell you, yes, Manimal, there's a difference between a condition and a trait. And you go, well, okay. And I tell
now
you, you understand that
understand
doesn't
it?
get you out of the criticism, right? You understand that saying that there's a difference
How doesn't it? So wait. So you
because
understand?
look, because
Bob,
did
look.
you just ask me a question?
You
to just,
understand there is a human condition. There's a collection of traits. That the traits, all of the traits together, point to a condition that we can say that organism has the gorilla condition, or it has the condition we're calling human, right?
Manimal.
Right.
Manimal.
We look at all of the
I already
traits to determine the condition, right?
Manimal. Just to like, please, just get this over with.
You just answer.
Yeah, shut up, dude.
Yes.
Shut up. I'm
We
saying
look at
yes. I'm saying yes.
good.
I'm literally saying I grant you
Good.
everything, and I agree. I agree. There's a difference between a trait and a condition. And there's a human condition, a chimpanzee gorilla condition. That's fine.
Excellent.
Okay, you understand
Now,
that doesn't.
good.
Oh,
Bob,
I'm not
Bob.
done yet. I'm not done yet.
good.
So
Tell
just
me
hold
what you
on.
understand.
This happened like 4 times already, where I literally get to this point where I say, yes, there's a difference between condition and trait. And I tell you, you understand that doesn't get you out of the criticism.
What criticism do you think I'm trying to
The
get at?
criticism is that if you want to say that the sex categories are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, and that this is just a fact of nature that we observe, it's mind independent, that you're going to have to provide some set of necessary and sufficient conditions that come in the form of traits about an individual that are also mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive.
And
The reason you can't get out of it is because even if you make appeals to things like, well, it's an entire organism's body that makes them male as opposed to female. It's going to be the case that
Please don't do
them
that voice
being
again.
male
That's
or
horrible.
female is going to reduce down to some fact about their anatomy.
That's right. So now, Bob,
then you
what's
just
the
say that
trait?
the criticism
Bob,
goes through.
No, Bob.
Okay, all right.
Can I just no, Bob.
Bob's reached like level 10 exhaustion, I feel.
Bob. I was saying that's right to
Bob
have to the very end of
maybe
what you said.
takes
I
a sip
disagree
of
with the first part of
water
what you said, and I'm trying to like help you understand something here, Bob. That you just agreed that like there's no singular trait that we're going to point to that is necessary for a human and like doesn't exist in a gorilla, right? And so what we're doing is that we're actually looking at all of the traits. All of the traits indicate the condition, right? There's the condition is that it's either it has all the traits are going to point to the fact that it's like got a condition we're calling gorilla, or it's going to point to the condition that we're calling human. Now we can further do that with male and female, right? Because we're going to look at all of the traits of the organism, right, Bob? Are you with me? We're going to look at all of the traits. All of the traits combined indicate the condition. It indicates what type of body it has.
I'm just going to ask
so
you.
wait. So there are only
He's going to do this shit
types.
again.
There are 2 types of bodies within any species, right? Within any sexually dimorphic species, I should say. So I'm going to use cats as an example. There's a male cat and a female cat. All of the traits indicate the condition. Right? None of the traits, like by themselves, are going to be enough to like tell us what the condition is, right? Oh, this animal has fur. Is that enough to tell us what type of animal it is? No. It has 2 eyes. Is that enough to tell us what type of animal it is? No. It's like all of the traits together, and that indicates the condition. Now that you understand, are you still going to try to say that there's no exclusive condition between male and female?
Oh God, yeah. You know why? Because look, Manimal, you agree that having a male typical body plan and a female typical body plan are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that a male typical body plan is determined by one's anatomical features.
Yes, all the traits, yes.
Then you're saying that there exists some lower level facts about one's anatomy such that given said anatomy, they have a male typical body plan as opposed to a female typical body plan.
Correct.
But you also acknowledge that these anatomical features, traits, are not mutually exclusive nor jointly exhaustive. So then it just directly follows that a male typical body plan.
Oh shit, incorrect. Damn.
Okay, name an anatomical feature that only males have.
You guys really quick. Let's
Again,
get the likes up to 15K.
Can you
in
name
next
the
5
anatomical
minutes.
feature
Thanks.
that only humans have?
That's not my burden because I never made a look. This is the point.
You understand the analogy.
Oh God.
How like we don't look at any singular trait. Okay.
Why do you think you have this burden, Manimal? I've given you the argument before.
There's no burden. I've already told you why there's no
God. Do you understand what mutual exclusivity and joint exhaustiveness means?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't be either
Why? Okay. Humans and chimps are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive to what?
I'm not claiming that humans and gorillas are mutually exclusive.
Then why would you use? Then
but I am saying that they're mutually exclusive.
Then it's obviously dissimilar enough that you wouldn't have the same burden given that scenario. Hello? You can say that two things are mutually exclusive, but not jointly exhaustive, and you wouldn't be committed to giving. Oh my God! And then here comes never.
All you have to acknowledge, Bob, is that no humans. There is not one human on Earth that is a gorilla, right?
Oh my gosh!
Is that true or not?
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh. Okay. Are there any humans? Are there any humans that are also gorillas?
We already went over all of this, Manimal. You're just not listening. So I'm gonna try and repeat it. Yeah,
are you trying to say that being a gorilla and a human is mutually exclusive but not jointly exhaustive? Is that
it's not? It's obviously not jointly exhaustive.
Yeah,
just think about
different organisms.
I'm just trying to make sure that I was hearing you right. I don't disagree with you necessarily. There,
okay,
right?
so the burden in that Manimal has is because he wants to say that the sex categories are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive of all human beings, but he wants to say that that's in virtue of these body plans, a male typical body plan as opposed to a female typical body plan. So what he's saying is that a male typical body plan and a female typical body plan is both mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive for all human. Okay, cool. But you're saying that these male typical body, look, this is the problem. You're saying that a male typical body plan is determined by anatomical traits that are not themselves mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive.
No. So this is where you keep trying to conflate traits and conditions again. What you need to do to understand the condition is you have to take into account all of the traits that the organism has. Okay. And this is going to be true of how we classify species. You can't just look at one or two traits of any species and then say that's what the organism is. No, you have to look at the entire organism.
Oh my God, you're saying this again. We got what you think that is. We got what you think that is.
So Bob, I'm gonna here's a little quiz.
Oh my God.
How many traits do we need to take into account before we decide what condition a species an organism has? How many traits do we need to take into account? Bob, how many traits do we need to take into account before we decide what the condition something is?
Okay, what's the relevance of
how
this
many
question,
traits?
Manimal?
Because I'm testing your comprehension of what I'm saying.
What do you think? Okay,
it's a simple
you're testing
question, bro.
The comprehension of what you're saying, but I don't think you've comprehended anything that I've said.
I'm testing your comprehension of what I'm saying. Right?
Okay, so you understand that?
Can you do
asking,
it? Can you do
why
it?
would I have to affirm
how many traits do we take into account?
Why would I have? Why would it be my burden to affirm anything about how species operates? Why would I have to? Why would I have to answer this question?
You can understand how conditions work.
We just went over it, and you agreed. You agreed with me. We've done this 4 times. Manimal, stop it. Stop it. Oh my gosh. Wait, no, we might need mod intervention here because he's doing it again. We just went over condition and trait. And you said yes.
And you agreed
yes to all of it.
To me. You agreed
about a condition being different. So stop bringing it up, dude.
But Bob,
let's take a break.
You agreed
for a minute,
that we look at all of the traits. The correct answer to my question earlier was the word all.
By the way, thank you for the coins, whoever sent them. Thank you so much.
We look at we have to take into account
all
of the traits.
You think that's fine. And listen to what do you think my critique is?
In order to determine if something is a gorilla, we have to look at all of the traits, right?
What do you think my critique is?
You're saying that if there's any traits that a gorilla has in common with a human, then we can't distinguish between the two.
Nope.
If there's
Can y'all
any
hear
traits
me?
that
That's
a
a
male
straw
has
man.
with a
Can y'all hear
female,
me? Nope,
yeah,
that's not true. Nope, that's not true.
Buddies,
I'm gonna
No,
explain
I
to you.
buddies, both of you. Wait. Can you please
Oh,
listen to the freaking mods?
Oh, we can't hear you.
You're saying if there are...
Gosh. Just listen to the mods.
Okay,
Yeah,
can
guys,
someone else talk instead of Manimal? Because he's helplessly confused.
Yeah, let's Hopeless, do you want to
answer any
tag
of
in
my
at this
questions. You keep
point?
running,
Yeah, I think I
And
can
Bob,
jump in.
if you want, yeah, go for it. And Bob, if you want to break, that's totally fine. If
Yeah,
you
Bob, you
want
don't
someone
have to answer any
specific,
questions. You've been answering a lot, dealing with a
yeah, if
lot.
you want someone specific up here, like if you want me to send this to Omni or something, I'm more than.
Oh God, please don't bring Omni up here.
I'm just trying to get like decently equal, guys. Relax. Okay,
You're fine.
continue.
Me and Omni I have my own personal reason for my disdain for Omni because we can't see eye to eye on one simple concept, and that is can an exception prove a rule or does it absolutely disprove a rule? That's like one concept that me and him have argued about since I've met the guy. But yeah, so
Shrimp, come back so I can let somebody else.
So, Bob, do you believe that the mutually exclusive but not jointly exhaustive is applicable to gender? Is that what you were trying to say?
Is this better?
Was I asked a question?
I did ask. You don't, like I said, you can answer or not. But I was trying to figure out if you think that gender would be equally as mutually exclusive but not jointly exhaustive, the same way you do about speciation.
Yeah, you can say that like sex. Well, I'd have to look at what it would mean to say that SMEX. Well, actually, no. Yeah, you couldn't say that SMEX is mutually exclusive because what would entail from that is that like male implies not female, but that's not how SMEX operates, right? Male doesn't imply not female. So there's going to be instances in which you have a male and a female. So that's doubtful. To say that's jointly exhaustive is also doubtful because like, yeah, not like there's no theory or like criteria by which you can provide for SMEX that I've seen that has resulted in everyone being either or.
I agree that SMEX isn't jointly exhaustive or, like in that way, right? I think that the gamete system that we use to figure out male and female is mutually exclusive for sure, to the point that even simultaneous hermaphroditic species show mutually exclusive parts for that. Would you agree to that or do you disagree with that?
Is the question whether or not we're a hermaphroditic species?
No. The question is like, is the gamete systems mutually exclusive to the point of being near jointly exhaustive or being jointly exhaustive?
Yeah, no, because what it would mean to say that the gamete system is mutually exclusive is that producing small gametes would imply that you don't produce large gametes. But that's false because
no. That's not what. Maybe I'm not conveying it right. Then that could be my fault. So what I'm saying is like the systems that we see for small gamete and for large gamete, no matter the species, no matter if it's hermaphroditic, are always so separate or so distinguishable that they would be exclusive, mutually exclusive, and potentially jointly exhaustive.
Well, I'm not sure. When you say something's mutually exclusive, what you're saying is that you have like two categories and there's no overlap between them.
Well, I would say the genitalia for any species would be no overlap, right? Even in hermaphroditic species that are simultaneous hermaphroditic species, such as plants, that you have two distinct genitalia that are connected to the gamete producing system. We can separate these two, and wholly separate these two. There's no intertanglement between the two. And then in sequential hermaphroditic species, the point at which we consider one to have transferred over to the other is once they've acquired the gamete production system of the opposite. So
I'm not entirely sure if mutually exclusive is what you would say to that. Maybe that they're like different, such that you can recognize the differences between them without being mutually exclusive.
Well, yeah, I would say that they're differentiated to the point of being exclusive, right? Would that not entail
that it's like mutually exclusive? Not necessarily. Like there can be two things that are different from each other, but they're not necessarily like mutually exclusive.
Okay, so how are you using mutually?
Well, my understanding is that to say that like to say that two things are mutually exclusive is just to say that there's no overlap between them. So like there's no instance of something being both. So for
So
to say that like the
that's the
genitalia,
difference in us. Okay. That's
to
the
say like
difference.
That's the error. That's the error.
What-
Because you
what?
think that it means there's going to be no overlap.
Oh, God.
All we're saying is that there's going to be two types.
Hold on.
Two different configurations.
I don't think that's the standard understanding of mutually exclusive.
I would say that there is no overlap in the structures in which one would have for one gamete production versus the other, right? There would be entirely no overlap as far as like
The structures?
Yeah, the as far as like the actual structure itself of the thing, right? So like the gamete production for like egg production, right, is going to be for let's just use humans as an
Either
example.
have one type of body, all
Manimal,
of the
you don't
traits
have to echo what Opus is saying.
Yeah,
I know. I'm not
so
going to
testes is an
reiterate
entirely
what my
different
point is.
organism than ovaries, right? You would agree to that.
So it's basically.
I can't hear you
What
over
you're
him.
saying is what I was saying earlier, which is you look at all of the traits, and all of the traits are going to indicate.
Well, I'm just focusing on the gamete
all of the traits.
production system right
Hold
now.
on. All of the traits
just
are going to
focusing on one part.
indicate. All of the traits are going to indicate the condition that the organism is. It's either a male cat or a female cat based on all of the traits. It's going to indicate the condition.
That's not even where I'm going. Hold on, that's not even where
It
I'm
is what
going.
you were
Like,
saying.
so is there a gamete system, right, where both is there a gamete production system or gamete housing system where both sperma and egg can be in that exact structure, in that exact form at the exact same time? Is there one of those?
Are you saying is there a structure that produces both sperm and eggs?
Yeah, from the exact same
Yeah, I
structural
wouldn't say
system.
that. Yeah, I'm not sure if there exists a system like that. No.
Well, there are.
I don't think there is either, right? So it would be safe
No.
and logically
In some
assumable
plants,
that
there are
they
hermaphrodites.
don't overlap.
Hold on.
Well,
In
yeah,
some
yeah,
plants, there are
but
hermaphrodites.
They have different structures that are responsible for the
Yes.
production of different gametes.
Yes, they're entirely separate. They do not overlap. That's how I'm using the word Bob. So I think we're close to meaning the same thing, which is why I asked the question, would they not be mutually exclusive?
I mean, in that sense, like, well, if you're saying that you're using mutual exclusivity in a different way than I am, then like, I guess in whatever, it wouldn't really matter, like whether or not they are or aren't mutually exclusive because
Well, I'm using it in a similar fashion to you. Because
It's similar, but like I think it's different enough such that like there's going to be a case in which we disagree on what is mutually exclusive and not mutually exclusive, and I think that's one of. I think that this
So then
is
we
one
have
of
to
those
determine
cases.
who has the more correct or more utilitarian or more whatever.
Well, it doesn't even matter. I don't think because you can say you can use your understanding of mutual exclusivity. Well, just recognizing that when I give the argument of like why I am doubtful that sex is mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. What I mean by mutual exclusivity is that there's no overlap between the SMEX categories. And what would result is that if you were to plug in, let's say that an individual is a male, if and only if they have quote unquote male typical body plan, then you're saying essentially that having a male typical body plan is mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. So male typical body plan has no overlap with female typical body plan. But the problem comes when you want to say that, well, what it means to have a male typical body plan is that you have certain anatomical traits, but these anatomical traits have overlap. Well, if you're saying that these anatomical traits have overlap, then it's unclear how the resulting categories are going to be mutually exclusive, given that.
Do you think there's no overlap between like gorillas and chimpanzees? There's no overlap, or is there?
Oh my gosh! Do you notice the initial conditions to how I got there? We first suppose that we have a set, or we have categories that are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. For you to give like two categories that are mutually exclusive isn't enough in order to conclude that you need a set of necessary and sufficient conditions that are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, which is what the whole criticism's been, which is why I've been saying you just haven't been comprehending. I think you should just stop.
Where we're getting to is I don't actually think that SMEX has to be mutually exclusive or jointly exhaustive for us to have the criteria of man or woman to function under adult human male and adult human female. I don't feel
that's not what the criticism is either, because you can say that man and woman can function as adult human female and adult human male, respectively. But the point is that if there exists an individual that is not male or female, or both male and female, then, and we still regard said individual as man or woman, then it becomes an issue, because then it seems like, it's not actually necessary for an individual to be female in order to be a woman.
in which case, like, if you have an argument in the form of like,
well, then I would just say that there is no situation where there is a person who is not male or female that is regarded as man or woman in their respective categories underneath my framework.
Yeah, and the only way you could do that is by one, saying that the categories are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, which is what Manimal is doing. Or you can say that they aren't mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. There exist some individuals who fall out of the classifications of male and female, but then you have to give like further motivation as to, one, the justification is to exclude them to being men or women, and then like some sort of like evidence, I think, that we don't already do that.
Currently, we have not witnessed a single situation where someone would fall out of those two. So all witnessable individuals would fall into those. So seeing that trans women are within witnessable individuals within, the reality that we all observe currently, right? They would all either fall in male or female, thus fall into man or woman.
Well, first we'd have, like, if you're saying, like, let's just suppose that what you mean by female is like you produce large gametes. So in the case that someone doesn't produce large gametes, they're not a female. That's obviously not true. We wouldn't want to like adopt a definition as rigid as that, but let's just say that's the case. So then we have individuals who are not female with respect to that theory. So when you say female, what are you exactly meaning? Because if I give like an understanding of that, then I can say, okay, this would be an instance in which someone would fall out of your like theory, a female. Why would we justify not calling them a woman?
Just basically appeal to like medical and other scientific definitions, right? The conglomerate of scientific definitions that revolve around different gamete productions or housing or the ability or the structures to, or whichever one you really want to kind of appeal to, right? I could appeal to
within the like
scientific
literature. I've heard of stories of like individuals who have like intersex conditions, where they're
potentially, yes,
not miscategorized, but like the doctors will say they were assigned X-mex at birth and they were recommended by doctors to be raised as X-mex.
Yeah, but that just goes down to human subjectivity.
Yeah, but then that seems like what you're actually talking about now is that these categories are practical. There's like a pragmatic sense in which we apply male and female to individuals, but then that's kind of, it seems to be undermining an idea that this is purely biological and we can resolve.
This falls into like the discussion that me and Omni have had several times, right? Of like exceptions don't disprove the rule; they actually fortify it. They prove the rule, right? Because exceptions exist. Because whenever we make a biological claim, we make a generalized claim, right? We're not making like a universal claim that this happens 1,000,000,000% of the time.
Yeah, that's fine if you have like an idealization in biology that happens all the time, like saying that humans are like saying that humans are gonochoric. I take that to be like an idealization. So
yeah. Okay.
What I'm going to say in response to that is that if you're saying exceptions don't disprove the rule, that can be fine with respect to like biology. But if you're making some sort of argument that you want to have deductive power, that's like woman, in order to be a woman, you have to be an adult human female. If there's even one instance in which we have a woman that's not an adult human female, that's sufficient to say that that's false. So an argument saying that you need to be an adult human female to be a woman, trans women are not adult human females, therefore trans women aren't women.
Examples of someone being a woman without being female, without making a presupposition?
I'm not sure what you mean by presupposition, but it would be theory respective, right? So if I give a gametic account of SMEX, individuals who aren't going to be female are going to be those individuals who don't produce large gametes. If you give like Mullerian, Wolffian derivative or pathway argument about what SMEX is, then it's just going to be those individuals who lacked Mullerian ducts or Mullerian derivatives.
And the reason I say without a presupposition is the moment that I have asked that question or a similar question to that before, someone has gone, yeah, trans women, right? That's just a presupposition that trans women fit this category for no other reason. So that's why
you can make this argument absent like trans women even existing.
I'm glad you did. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't, just go, yeah, but trans women. But
so if you mean by female something like having certain reproductive anatomy that like
a certain type of a body plan that's associated with that production.
So I would say, so here's what I would say, Bob, right? Like under normative circumstances, obviously we're going to go for the observable characteristic that is going to be consistent in all species, right? And that's going to be which gamete production they currently have. That would be under the normative set of circumstances.
It's going to be what type of body plan they have.
So,
yeah, but now absent of the
it's
ability
whether or not it developed an ovum-producing type of body or a sperm-producing type of body.
Why
guess
is...
what, guys? Wait, Bob.
Oh my God, bro.
I need to correct your earlier characterization of my position, because male and female isn't actually going to be jointly exhaustive either, because there are spermaphroditic species. Okay, we actually do
in
have
humans,
criteria.
Manimal.
No. Okay, but we aren't limiting the words male and female aren't limited to humans.
In the context of humans, are they jointly exhaustive?
Within the context of humans, then yes, they are, because and that's going to be true of all mammals. But I'm just making clear, like logically, yes, male and females aren't mutually exclusive, right? Right, because there's going to be some plants that are hermaphrodites, but within all mammals, there's going to because we're a sexually dimorphic species, right? It means there's only going to be two types of conditions that we can instantiate, two types of bodies, I should say.
Right? I love begging the question.
An ova-producing type of body or a sperm-producing type of body.
Yay, Manimal, let us know what his position was. You interrupted all the conversation.
Disagree with that?
Guys, Manimal
Those are the
thinks that
conditions.
snacks... Wait, everyone, hold on. Stop it. Everyone stop it right now. Sit down. If you're not currently sitting, Manimal Leo believes that sex is mutually exclusive, jointly exhaustive.
Correct. Within humans.
Oh my god.
But hold on, wait.
That literally brought a tear to my eye. I'm crying.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Manimal, do you really think that? No way. You're kidding. You're joking. Really?
Wait.
Robert.
Wait, you think more? Manimal, let us know.
So let's see. Where do we leave off?
Wanting to know, yeah. That was just a little.
He's gonna say next that he could VT.
I don't think the necessary for mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive in this situation, or is there, right? I don't think that's quantified in any manner.
Wait. Hopeless.
I remember what I was
Hopeless. Manimal,
I want to get clarity on what you just said.
Sex is mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive.
Wait a minute, bro. I literally just said that there are hermaphroditic. I just said that there are hermaphroditic species. I don't know why Bob is like insistent.
Yeah, that's fine.
And mischaracterizing what my position is, because I literally just said there are hermaphroditic species, but in humans, and there aren't any individuals.
You're breaking up, hon.
There aren't any individuals that are hermaphroditic, right? So the
categories. Whoa.
So what I was trying to say, right, is that
whoa,
guys.
True,
Bob, do you have any example of a human that has both types
here's
of
what we're
bodies?
gonna do.
Hold on, I just want to ask him this question. I'm hopeless. Bob, do you have any example of an individual who has developed both types of body plans? An individual human, I should say. Any human that has developed both types of bodies, a male and a female type of body.
Are you done?
I just asked you a question.
Oh, okay. I'll answer it after Hopeless is finished. Whatever it was.
Are you gonna?
Yeah. So I was saying, right?
Wait a minute, bro, look. Can he answer the question I just asked him?
No, bro. We were talking to Hopeless. You interjected to ask me a question. That's so inappropriate. Be normal for 2 seconds. I promise you'll be okay.
Bro. Whatever, bro.
Act like that,
so
man.
I would say, right, we are going to typically try to observe the most common trait, right? The most common trait amongst all species to adjudicate whether one is male or one is female. Now, outside of the ability to observe that, right, we are definitely going to look at other biological factors. I don't think there's a single sociological factor that we would look at, but we would definitely look at biological factors in a cluster concept to figure out what, if the DS had presented, they would have had, right?
Wait, but like I'm fine with having a cluster. Like a cluster account of SMEX is fine, but notice to say that something's a cluster concept is to deny that there exists any individually necessary nor sufficient conditions, which is exactly.
Maybe you misunderstood me. So the cluster is only applicable, right, whenever the observation of the characteristic that is usually observed is not observable, right? So if in absence of the observable characteristic.
That's just to say that the whatever proposed characteristic you're giving is not a necessary one, because it can be absent in individuals, yet they still can have a
It would still be necessary. It would still be necessary under the fact that we are still looking to figure out what would have been there if something had not changed.
Necessary is a very specific like relationship that you're invoking in logic. So if you say that like if X then Y, or like X implies Y, then what you're saying is that Y is a necessary condition for X. So that's false in the case that like X is true and Y is false. So the example would be like if I said that sorry, I just got really confused. Okay. Wait, hold on.
You're good. Bob, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so if I were to say something like, if you're a woman, or I don't know, if you're a woman, then you have XX chromosomes. Notice how what you're saying there is that having XX chromosomes is a necessary condition for being a woman. And the obvious counterexample to that is going to be a woman who doesn't have XX chromosomes, right?
You're conflating traits and conditions again. It's kind of
oh my gosh, this thing keeps talking to me.
It's crazy that you're just going to conflate traits and conditions again.
Trait and condition are not mutually exclusive.
I didn't say they were.
Then shut the fuck up,
for some reason,
bro.
Your whole argument rests on ignoring
if a trait can be a condition, then shut up.
If a trait can be a condition, then shut up. Okay, but
if a trait can be a condition, then shut up.
No, because in this instance, we're talking about SMEX. We're talking about the traits that indicate the condition, right? You have to take all the traits together to know what condition has been instantiated. And the question that you need to answer is, because if you don't think that it's mutually exclusive or jointly exhaustive, then just point to one individual.
Is there anything behind your forehead?
Just point to one individual that
anything behind your forehead.
Both male and female.
That's not necessary in your case. It's not necessary in your case because your position is just wait, sorry. Anyway, that's not necessary in your case because as I've already demonstrated, your view does not even result in the categories being mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. And whether or not you accept that is irrelevant because I don't think.
Give me an example. Give me an example. These cats are single question. Why do you do this?
Robert,
I'm sorry, like this man keeps interrupting me talking to Hopeless. You said to take a break. Lucas said listen to the mods. I'm trying to take a break and this thing keeps like crawling on my back and trying to siphon the youth out of me.
Okay. Omni, I see you're in the chat.
Single question.
Robert would love some help if you feel like coming up. We would love to have you. Please request if you would like to join. Kiki, if you would like to weigh in here. Luca, if you would like to weigh in here to give Robert a break to collect himself. That would be lovely. Thank you.
Because I'm getting really upset talking to Manimal. Someone else talk to him.
It's just one question, bro.
Manimal, conversation some other time. I was actually enjoying our conversation.
Dang. Yeah, I was enjoying my conversation with Hopeless too, Manimal. Maybe go kick rocks. I don't know.
Yes.
Which is unusual for me and Bob, because usually it's me yelling at Bob, because Bob usually gets underneath my fucking skin with his like sea lion activity sometimes. But
when the GCs agree with the TRAs, they're probably right. Manimal, just take it on the chin, bro. You'll be okay.
Yeah, sure. It's okay. He's acting so amazed that someone would think that it's mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive, but he can't even provide one example that would prove that it isn't mutually exclusive.
Okay, let's let Bob rest, please.
I guess I will leave.
Okay, no, you don't need to leave. Let's just switch our focus. Omni, I know you're over 18, but for TikTok, can we just get your age really quick, please? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm 37. And just a heads up, I literally just got done driving. So like when I parked, all I heard was Manimal say the same thing about conditions. And so I just commented on it. But beyond that, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
No, you're good. I mean, it's the typical, we're still doing like MECE at this point and no one can agree on a definition. And Bob honestly has been up here for a long time. And so if you want to tap in or if anybody would like to engage with Omni while he has the time, that would be great while Bob, I don't know, gets some tea or something. Thanks.
Hi, Omni.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just being the best pick me on this app. What about you?
Oh, dude, I'm mentally fucking exhausted. That's why you guys don't really see me around too much anymore. I've been so burnt out.
That's fair enough. Same here.
I have been doing my best to stay away from like the lower end debates here lately. I swear it's been getting worse around here in the debate space.
It is. It's a cesspool.
I'll be honest. If you guys ever decide to like take time away, say like you take a month away, you're gonna notice just like how much better you feel. I feel so much better. I feel beat right now, right? But still.
No, I would agree. Like I took 3 days off and I was like, what am I doing? And then I came back
Now
to it
and then I
because
have
it's
to
an
do the same
addiction.
thing. Every now and then I have to do the same thing. Just drop it for like a week or something. Just disappear.
Yeah. I really do feel like this is an addiction. Maybe people can agree. I don't necessarily think it's like clinical by any means, but I do think that like, I don't know, maybe it's
I
just
think it has
FOMO.
addictive property, especially like coming up here and being able
For
to talk.
sure.
But I've always had some weird like affinity for wanting to have intelligent conversations with people, even if I vehemently disagree with them.
Can I say one thing?
Problem is
I
you
want
go through a
bad
bunch of
faith.
dumb
That's the
conversations
thing about
first.
it.
Sorry,
A lot of
go
bad
ahead.
faith
Wow.
actors, and it makes it tough. Yeah.
Manimal, I want to point something out because it's why I commented, and you've said it to me, you've said it to Bob. I've heard you say it a few times, and I just want to make something clear. When either him or I specifically are saying condition, it's just like it's the placement of a proposition in an implication. You remember when he was saying like if X then Y? So it just means that whatever X is and whatever Y is, it's a condition, but it's a condition in terms of either the thing that you're talking about is sufficient or it's necessary. That's all that it means. That literally all that it means in the abstract.
That's cool. So, do you think that there's been an individual that has developed, a human individual that has developed like the male type of body and the female type of body, like in the same organism?
It would depend on what you have as your conditions, because I do know that your position is that you're either going to be a male or a female and not both and not neither.
That's right. And my condition, my situation is basically we have to, in order to know what condition, like anything is, any organism is, we have to take all of the traits together, and then that indicates the condition.
Okay, so I think.
Do you understand how that works? So there's two.
Well,
there's only two types of conditions. There's only two possible conditions in any sexually dimorphic species. It's either going to be the male type of body, which is the sperm producing type of body, or
is Nate
overproducing type of body.
Is Nate in the request by chance?
All of the traits.
Okay, man. Well, hang on. You're
no,
using.
He's working right now.
What condition? The
no,
organism.
You're using the word. You're using the word. No, you're not. What? I didn't finish my sentence.
I'm not using the word condition incorrectly. Is that what you were going to say?
No, I said you're using it differently. Well, I was going to say you're using it differently. When I'm saying like the conditions, right, and I'm talking about necessity or sufficiency, I'm talking about a particular placement in an implication, in an if-then statement. So if you just abstract this, like what Bob said, if you said if X, then Y, X would be a condition which is sufficient. Y would be necessary, right? I'm not sure how you're using condition.
Okay, so a condition is just any like a fact of the matter. Do you have a different definition of condition?
Well, I'm only using it in the logical sense.
Okay, so when you say the word condition, are you meaning it's just a fact of the matter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using.
So we have the same definition of condition.
No, we don't. We don't.
Oh, what's your definition of condition?
Well, the reason that I know that we don't is because you said something like primarily indicating logical implications.
No,
like
I didn't say those words at all.
You didn't say something indicating?
I said we take all of the traits together, and that will indicate.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't work.
Anything.
Okay, that doesn't work in logical implications.
Is that how we indicate? Is that how we determine like the difference between any species? Right? We look at all the traits, and then that will indicate whether it is in the condition of a gorilla or the condition of a human. Right?
No, what I'm trying to we're having like two. Are we having? Manimal, please
trying to make.
No, I need you to try to have the same conversation that I am having.
Yeah, so I'm having the conversation that of how we categorize things in biology.
Okay, but right now in this conversation, there's Manimal, there's Omni, and then there's the version of Omni in Manimal's head that Manimal's responding to, right? I'd like you to respond to just what I'm talking about.
Okay, are you not talking about how we categorize biological things?
Well, I haven't even gotten there yet.
Okay, because that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how we categorize biological things. We take all the traits together, and then that tells us what condition is instantiated. So all of the traits that we have as humans tell us that's experiencing that has the human condition. We'll just call it that, or the gorilla condition, or the giraffe condition, right? We might share a lot of traits. We share a lot of traits like hands, eyes. I mean, obviously not with giraffes, but ears.
To be clear, when you're saying condition here, you don't mean it like in the logical sense, right?
I mean it just to mean fact of the matter.
Okay, so like the fact, like the facts of the individual's body.
Yeah, just a fact of the body. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
this type of body to that type of body.
Okay. So what I know,
or a not gorilla body. Right.
Okay, so what I know of your position is that you think everybody regarding humans, right? They're going to be either a male or a female. They're not going to be both. They're going to be one or the other, but they're not going to be both.
You can extend it to all mammals. Yes.
Sure, but I mean, that's kind of like presumably like if the conversation extends to like
all mammals are going to have a male type of body or a female type of body.
Okay, mammals. Okay, mammals. Right. And you think that this is like a fact of the world that we discover, right? It's not like something that we produce. It's just the outcome of
just what we're observing, yeah.
Okay. So the issue that I have is that your position has a very particular commitment, and it just means that the facts of these bodies are going to be such that they're necessary and sufficient, but also mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. So you'd have this framework. You'd have this framework where you'd have to say something like, all females have X. Everyone that has X is a female. All males have Y. Everyone that has Y is a male.
So I'm going to tell you what X is. All females have a body that is typical of the overproducing, type of body of that species. That's what all females have.
Okay, but the problem here is that your move is just like kicking the can down the road. You're saying a body that is typical, and I can tell you why. Because presumably for somebody to have a body that's typical of X, this has to be in virtue of the facts collectively about the body that we use to make this determination.
Yep.
Right, and that means that those facts in themselves have to be necessary and sufficient, mutually exclusive, and jointly exhaustive. So they can't be
just
lacking
in the
at
collection
anything.
That they appear together, right? So it's like, let's say, the difference between a car and a bike is that one has two wheels and one has four, right? So these are two types of, or like maybe car and a bike, maybe just two different types of car models, right? We have to look at all the traits together to determine whether or not it's a Toyota or a Ford or whatever, right?
Okay, so do you
because we're a sexually dimorphic species, we can say, okay, yeah, this is a female, even though it didn't develop like all the way properly. We can still know that it's a female because it's got that type of body. It doesn't have the male type of body. It didn't develop the male type of body. It developed a female type of body, even though it has like some sort of defect. It means that its uterus didn't develop properly. Or even if it did not have the presence of some male like tissue, it's still going to have a female body. Right?
Okay, so the problem that I'm having, and I wasn't here for it, but I'm sure this is probably the problem that Bob was having, and he can correct me on this.
Bob's problem is that he doesn't actually listen when I talk. Well, you're doing much better. So
okay, but there's two things, right? One, your position or what you're saying seems to just be kicking the can down the road, and it's provoking me to want to ask you for the necessary and sufficient conditions. But then you're talking about something. No, but it's a kick the can down the road form of the answer.
You would only see that way if you're thinking that a condition is a trait. Right?
No. A condition in terms
The traits,
Manimal.
the traits
Manimal.
indicate the condition.
Stop, please. Hey, hang on. A condition
you guys
in
can't hear that sentence. It's
no. A condition in terms of logic, right? For necessary and sufficient conditions, is the placement of a proposition in an implication, whether it would be necessary or sufficient. That's what it is.
Okay.
I'm not confusing what it is.
Okay.
Right. And so when whatever you plug in for X and Y, or A and B, or P and Q, you're feel free to call that whatever you want. But what I'm concerned with is what you're going to plug in. And it's not a confusion on what condition is.
So the thing I'm going to plug in there is the development of an ova-producing typical body plan or a sperm-producing typical body plan. We understand how some plants actually can have both, so we call them spermaphrodites.
Okay,
we haven't observed both development in any mammal. So
when you think of the word,
it's either in all mammals we can see, oh, this has developed the sperm-producing type of body or the ova-producing type of body. So that's the mutual exclusive condition. Right?
When you think of the word typical, how would you define typical?
Well, so there's going to be this ideal that we understand, especially within reproduction, right? Okay, we see how these birds reproduce. We can see there's
no, just the word typical.
Just like a type, right? Just a type.
So you think
having the certain type of organization, so it's going to have a pattern, right? So there's going to be this pattern of organization as opposed to a different pattern of organization.
Okay, so an overall pattern type of fitness.
Yes,
sort of
overall pattern.
Okay. So it seems to be
similarity.
Okay. So here's the thing. I agree with that stance, but the problem is you're talking about a family resemblance sort of thing, overall pattern fitness, the type of things that when you get formal, people usually call them cluster concepts.
No, actually, that's wrong. That's just the way.
Which part is wrong?
That's where I disagree with well, this is a family resemblance or a cluster thing. No, I'm not talking about any cluster concept. That's actually an oxymoron in any logical.
Okay. Do you remember? Do you remember about
those terminologies? I just say that yes, there's an aggregate of traits, aka all of the traits are going to indicate the condition.
Okay, so do you remember when about 40 seconds ago I said an overall pattern fitness, and you said yeah. And then I said family resemblance, and then I said
when I say no.
Hang on, holy hell! Okay.
We don't need to revert to
hang on, holy fuck! Okay, the reason I'm highlighting what I just said, the reason I'm highlighting it is because if you were to look up anything I'm talking about, all of these key terms will be used: family resemblance, overall pattern fitness, cluster concept, and you said yes all the way up until cluster concept.
No, nobody's invoking the terms family resemblance or
I did
cluster concept.
I did
in the biological literature. Yeah, I know you did. That's why I'm just saying
in the biological literature.
Let's just stick to more coherent language. Okay, we don't need to invoke cluster concept, especially it's definitely it's not a cluster concept. But the way that
you said family resemblance, and this is not invoked in the biological literature. That's what you said.
That's sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So are you saying that if anyone on this panel or anyone listening happened to look up something called a homeostatic property cluster, it's not going to be related to biology, and they're not going to find anything in the literature? Is that your claim?
That's a different term.
What's a different term?
Homeostatic property cluster is not the same term as cluster concept.
It is a type of cluster concept for natural plants.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
That's ridiculous.
Would you like to bet money on it?
You're saying homeostatic cluster property cluster is a type of cluster concept. What's a cluster concept?
It's a formalized version of a family resemblance thing.
And what is that?
Are we going to go down?
You're trying to say that a homeostatic property cluster is one of these family resemblance or cluster concepts.
Yes.
So where there's no boundary. You're going to say that. Oh, well,
Manimal, the reason that we're having this conversation is because you said the reason that we're having this conversation is because a little bit earlier you said that these sorts of things are not going to be found in the biology literature, but that's just not true.
I'm just saying the word cluster concept.
Yes, that would be
cluster concept. Okay, you hear the word cluster, and then you get like this little tingly feeling, like yay, cluster. There's the word. The cluster concept.
What are you talking about?
Homeostatic property cluster. It must be a cluster concept. No, these are completely different things. Homeostatic property cluster.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Completely different things.
Okay. Let's bet money on it. Let's bet money on it.
You want to bet money?
How much?
Things?
No. I'm going to bet money that a homeostatic property cluster is a type of cluster concept, and it's specifically for natural kinds in biology.
What does that even mean? What is a cluster concept?
What do you mean? What does it mean?
Example?
Well, hang on. A minute ago, you just said that these are two completely different things, and now you're saying, what does it mean?
It's something that you... Yeah, I'm asking you what it means. Earlier, you just wanted to run away.
No, but Manimal, you know what it means because you would have to. You said these things are two completely different things.
I do know what it means. Tell me what it is.
But no, you already know.
I know what it means. That's how I know it's not. So prove
okay, so let's just... No. Let's just bet money on it.
Just tell me what a cluster concept is.
No, fuck that. I'm bored, man. Let's bet money on it.
How are we going to determine...
Let's not.
Oh, wait. Okay,
Tommy,
let's just bet money
How
on
are we going to determine what the cluster concept is?
I don't care about...
How do we determine who wins, bro?
Manimal, I don't care about any of that. We could just do the money and we could leave out all the rhetoric.
Yeah, we can do any amount of money, right? As long as you can decide who determines what a cluster concept is at the end of the day, right?
No, that's not what I said.
No? Then just tell us what the cluster concept then.
No. Let's skip this part. Let's just go straight to the money.
Sure. What's the money?
Okay, how much are you willing... How much are you willing to bet that a homeostatic property cluster is not a type of cluster concept used in the philosophy of biology to talk about natural kinds?
Hold on, that's not the claim.
That is the claim. You said this is not found in the literature. You said it's not found in the literature, and I just gave you an example.
You're shifting the goalpost to homeostatic property cluster.
I gave you...
That term isn't in the biology. You're saying that homeostatic property cluster is a type of cluster concept, which is just ridiculous.
Yes,
it's also a huge tangent off the topic.
It's not. It's not.
A cluster. Why is it relevant that a property cluster is a cluster concept?
It's relevant because I'm just going off of what you said. You said that there's no such thing, or you said cluster concepts aren't used in the biology literature. And I said, that's not true. And then I named a type of one.
Dude.
I just gave you an example, a common example.
Tell us what a cluster concept is.
That is shifting. You said that cluster concepts are not found in the biology literature. And I said, yes, they are.
Okay.
And then I named the most popular one.
Tell you what a cluster concept is. A cluster concept.
Manimal, do you really think that I don't know what they are?
A cluster concept is something like a game. Like that's the quintessential.
Yeah,
example.
A game.
Like
is it a game really?
Right?
No, it's not. Actually, we use cluster concepts to describe games, but this comes straight from Wittgenstein's work, right? When he's talking about family resemblance.
Exactly. And so you think
you're just arguing to argue with me, dude. Why are you trying to make this so difficult?
Hold on. So you think that a homeostatic property cluster is basically essentially just the same as the way we operate like a game from something that's not a game.
When did I say that? Why would I say that?
You just said it. That was your whole argument. I should have bet the money. You just said homeostatic property cluster is a type of cluster concept.
Hang on.
Didn't you just say that?
Hang on. For everybody here on the panel, did I not just say a few minutes ago, as to use an example, that a homeostatic property cluster is used in the philosophy of biology to talk about natural kinds?
And nobody disagreed.
No, I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to everybody else on the panel. Did you all hear me say that?
Yeah, you did say that. Manimal did disagree that cluster concepts are not used in the literature, and he said that homeostatic property clusters are not a type of cluster concept. And then he just went on to say that game is a cluster concept.
Well, because
the problem is
Omni doesn't want to tell us an example, so that's why I had to bring the word.
Manimal. You just said a little bit ago that my argument is a game would be like that, but I don't think that games are natural kinds, and they obviously wouldn't share the same features as homeostatic property clusters.
Okay. So
why would we be talking about? Listen to me. Why would we be talking about stabilizing mechanics when you're talking about games? How would that even make sense?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
So why are you invoking
right?
Why are you invoking cluster concepts? That's exactly my point. Why are you invoking cluster concept.
Because earlier in the conversation you were talking about typical body plans and you were talking about a certain type, and I said, oh, like an overall pattern fitness, and you said yes.
Yes, and that's not a cluster
that's why we're talking about what we're talking about,
That's
dude.
not a cluster concept, buddy.
That seems to be in description your best explanation.
No, it's
you were
not.
talking. I asked
A
you
cluster
directly,
concept
like an overall
is an
pattern
oxymoron.
fitness.
It doesn't make sense.
With the overall pattern, not a cluster concept. I'm confused about this now too. I'm not gonna lie.
The term cluster concept makes zero sense.
Oh my god,
completely ridiculous.
Manimal, listen,
use
please.
other language. Just use
Can
other
you
language.
Can you? Okay.
Well, no, we use
Stick
cluster
to-
concept and speciation.
No.
Manimal, can you please just try to speak like a normal person? The
cluster
only reason
concept is invoked
Listen.
specifically from the philosophy of language, like Omni was saying, comes from this whole family resemblance idea that was originated in Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations around the word game. Okay? That's where it comes from. So when you invoke the term cluster concept, you're actually invoking something that is quite easily debunked, by the way, and doesn't make any sense. It's an oxymoron on its face because you're saying that the concept is defined by the things that are associated with it.
Manimal, why are I just want to see if you can retrace.
That is not the only implication of a cluster concept.
I want to see if you can reach
most
Manimal. I want to see if you can retrace your step. Why are you and I, talking about cluster concepts right now?
Because you wanted to invoke the term when you started agreeing with how, when I was saying all of the traits, we take it like a trait aggregate thing, or even the word cluster. I was just starting to say, I could have said the word cluster, the cluster of traits. Indicate the condition.
Keep it simple. Why did I quote invoke this? In response to what?
You wanted to just invoke the concept. You want to think of three different
No. Why?
Say what I was saying.
In the conversation between you and I, why did I apparently want to invoke this?
I just told
why.
you.
No, you said
you were agreeing with my point that.
What was it that you said that made me say that?
I said all the traits. We take all the traits together.
No, after that.
That indicate the condition.
After that.
What did I say after that? I don't know.
Okay, you were talking about a typical body plan, yada yada yada, and I said, okay, and I said something like an overall pattern fitness, and you said yes. Okay,
fine.
Right now, the problem that I'm having is if your position was actually in terms of necessary and sufficient conditions, which harkens back to why I asked you, what do you think the word typical means? You don't seem to be talking about either necessary nor sufficient conditions. You're talking about an overall pattern fitness. So the description I went into, this is like cluster talk. This is not necessary and sufficient conditions. That's why I asked you earlier.
No. Because what I'm saying is that the pattern of fitness or whatever, the whole pattern together, the collective pattern, is the condition. And that is the necessary condition.
Okay,
that's what people mean when they say over denoting the specs. They're saying over denoting the type of body that is associated with overproduction or sperm production.
Manimal, anybody that says over.
So now you listen. That's why I worded it differently. I'm just saying a female is something that it developed the overproducing typical body plan of the species.
Anybody that says of or denoting in these conversations has no idea what they're talking about.
Or maybe
that's
you just don't want
gibberish.
To comprehend what they're saying.
No, I know exactly what that means. They don't. The problem is they don't understand what they're saying. Wow. That's a grammar note that you find in dictionaries. It's metalinguistic.
So
it's
let's
just
get
literally.
Back to your. Do you have a contention then with my definition?
Yeah, the issue that I have with your definition is, given that it's tied to your position would require that there are facts about these bodies that are mutually exclusive, jointly exhaustive, and also necessary and sufficient. But the answer that you give is in the form of kicking the can down the road, which is just going to provoke me to ask again what these things are. And then you use words like typical body plan.
The fact of the matter, the fact that you're looking for, the necessary condition, is that, they've developed one type of body or another type of body, right? The fact that something is a gorilla rather than, an orangutan is that they developed one type of body as opposed to another type of body. There's no one trait that's going to be true of all gorillas that isn't true
Okay.
of any orangutans.
Hang on. There's no one trait that's going to be true of gorillas. Okay. So what would you say about that specific trait if you were talking about gorillas?
So we're basically going to say we look at all of the traits to instantiate what condition, or like what to know what condition has been instantiated. You see what I'm saying?
Not gonna lie, that's kind of circular, bro.
This is just nonsense.
It's circular because you don't comprehend when I say it the first time. I have to say it multiple times.
Animal, the problem is you're kind of just gibberating.
That's definitely what it is.
How is it gibberating?
Because the things that you're saying.
What the condition is.
Look. When
the condition is having one pattern, one type of body, or a different type of body.
That's not what a condition would mean in terms of what we're talking about in the logic.
What are you talking about? You're saying no. So
no, it's not. It's not.
Having a type of body.
Went over this
having a type of body isn't a fact of the matter. Is that what you're saying?
The problem is
a type of body isn't a fact of the matter.
You keep using the word condition differently than how it should be used in this conversation on this very point.
Because you want to you want to conflate conditions with traits. That's
no, I don't. Look, no, I have told you repeatedly.
That's a problem.
No, a condition is the placement of a proposition in an implication, whether it be necessary or sufficient. That's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. So why do you move on from that? Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that.
Body is a condition.
Shut up.
Right.
Acknowledge that.
Okay, a type of body is a condition, right?
No. Acknowledge what I just said. Respond to what I just said in a way that demonstrates that you understood what I just said.
What did you say?
A condition on this topic is the placement of a proposition in an implication, whether it be necessary or sufficient. That's what that is. That's all that is.
Okay.
So it means if you have some implication, if X, then Y. Then X is a condition in its placement as being sufficient. Y is a condition in its placement as being necessary. That's it. Okay. Full stop. That's it.
If the development of an ovo-producing typical body plan, then female.
But the problem is you're smuggling in the word typical.
I'm not smuggling it in. I'm literally stating it.
The reason I'm saying that you're smuggling it in is because if we're talking about these logical implications, where do you think typicalities fit? Like when you hear the word necessary, what do you think? Because I think true in all cases. I think no exceptions.
That's right.
Right?
So
does typical invoke the idea of true in all cases, no exceptions? Because it does.
Wait, hold on. I'm not saying it's like it's typical that they have this type of thing. I'm saying the type of body, right? You either have this pattern of body, or you have developed that type of body. What we've observed in all mammals is that none of them develop both types of bodies, and none of them develop neither type of body.
Okay,
therefore, the categories themselves are mutually exclusive because the types of bodies themselves are mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive. Nobody doesn't develop either, and you either develop one or the other.
Okay. So what? Okay, so what
the condition is?
You're just question begging. What are the necessary? Listen, what are the necessary and sufficient conditions?
Are you asking for the necessary traits? Yes, you are, aren't you? You're asking for the necessary traits.
How many times do I have to go over what a condition is?
Well, I'm trying to help you understand.
Repeat back. Let's pause this. Repeat back to me what I said a condition was at least 5 times now. What did I say?
Your way of wording it is super convoluted and
really,
repeat it.
Because it's really not straying from the textbook. It's really not.
Yeah, and so the way your way of wording it is I probably won't be able to.
Put it in your own words.
Dude, honestly, there's too many words to it, bro.
No, there was really not.
There's really not. Say it again. Let's see if Topos can repeat it.
Okay.
Let's see if Topos can repeat it, or anyone else.
Okay, a condition is the place.
Let's see if Led can repeat it.
Okay, well, you're going to have to be quiet in order for me to say it so somebody can repeat.
I just wonder if anyone else on this panel can repeat his definition.
I think I can do it right now without him repeating
anyone but Bob. Bob probably actually has looking at
Bob's probably
looking at the textbook as well.
For hours,
but I just wonder if anyone can recite it from memory.
Are you saying his definition of a condition? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
for?
It's not my definition. It's not
the definition that you were currently using.
He's a semantic externalist when it comes to this.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so a condition is what I heard you say, because I'm not going to lie, I checked out a little bit from y'all's argument, is that a condition is just a proposition, something along those lines. There was a whole bunch more to it. Yeah, no, I checked out.
Exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention too much, and I think I can still repeat it back. Like, I literally was not paying attention.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I think it's going to be something like, it's going to be a proposition, and it's specifically its placement in like a conditional. So like if X then Y, which is what I said to you earlier, Manimal. So like, and it's either going to be like necessary or sufficient. So if I said like if X then Y, what you're saying is that X is a sufficient condition for Y, and that Y is a necessary condition for X.
And there it is.
Right. And so if the development of an ova-producing type of body of the species, then female.
Okay, you're being so there's like basic. You're being meta about this, right? We're like,
okay. Yeah,
think about it like this. What are
you're asking for the trait rather than the condition?
No.
You're conflating traits with conditions again.
And here we are again.
In this case, would the trait not be the condition?
Your refusal to accept the fact that a condition does not need to point to a particular trait.
Manimal.
Condition can be the collection of traits taken as a collection, as a homeostatic property cluster. Does that make you feel better?
No, like
I said, homeostatic property cluster.
Animal, like I'm going to be honest with you. If I didn't know you any better, I would just assume you are perpetually drunk. Nothing I have said.
Let's not accuse people of substance abuse on the panel, please.
It's just going in circles, saying the same thing over and over and over. And in the very conversation, when you try to repeat back my point in the next sentence, you always fuck it up every time.
Really?
Really?
Okay, I don't.
This is getting.
I think we're good on this.
I'm
Hey, do you want to debate about if exceptions prove the rule or disprove the rule? Do you want to argue about that one again? We can always have that argument.
Beans, what do you want to do, Beans? What do we want to do?
In strict logic,
I'm hungry.
You're what? You're hungry?
I'm hungry. Yeah.
Go get something to eat. Good Lord.
What do you want?
Mac and cheese.
I just proposed that if hungry, then Beans needs to eat. So Beans needs to eat because Beans is hungry. There we go. I don't know. I fucked that all up, but we're going with it.
A baby.
So Luca, strictly from like a biological standpoint, right? Scientifically speaking, they adhere to the idea that exceptions prove rules, not disprove rules. There is logical assertion that exceptions would vehemently disprove the rule.
Yeah, like when you're making a universal claim about something, like showing one.
Yeah, but biology typically makes a general claim, not a universal claim, in the same aspect of like philosophically understanding something.
You would be changing what you mean by prove. That's the issue here. You'd be changing what you mean by prove. So the whole point would rest on like using proof or proves in a different way.
Well, it just gives understanding that the rule is what happens and that all of the exceptions are the anomalies.
But ironically enough, though, that's like a pragmatic system, which is exactly what I argue in terms of like societal concepts. So I don't understand how you can accept
pragmatism isn't necessary.
A biological way, but then like when it comes to the societal application of that thing, you can't adhere to the pragmatism.
Well, okay. Hold on, wait. Maybe I tried to jump in a little too early there. I missed something you said. What did you say again? Repeat.
Yeah, so I'm saying I find it kind of like ironic a little bit that you are appealing here to the pragmatism, right? The fact that we're speaking in generalities and whatever works for most, right? Whatever is acceptable in most cases and works in most cases will just become the rule. And when I argue that in, especially in a societal concept where pragmatism is actually like the main basis, right? It's strange that you can accept that in like a biological concept, which even is a hard science, right? But you can't accept it in a soft science where it's like commonplace.
Well, hold on. Are we presupposing that gender only exists within some soft form of understanding? Because like I can grant pragmatism, and I don't disagree that I just disagree on on which one is more pragmatic, right? You say using the subjective concept of figuring out what someone is, or at least if I'm understanding, right? And if I misrepresent, please correct me. But if I'm understanding it, you figure that it is more pragmatic to go off of someone's subjective sense and understanding of what something is, aka what a woman in this case would be, versus what I believe is more pragmatic is to have a baseline understanding of what we societally or as a group or as a world, right, agree, right, and have a definitive definition that we adhere to, that we can, that we can collectively hearken to if misunderstanding arises, right? So this would be a difference in understanding which is more pragmatic.
No, that's not what I'm. Wait. Before you continue. Wait. No, because you completely strawmanned what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
That's fine. I say
the pragmatism is that if people subjectively think this, then that should be the case. Let me finish real quick. So what I am saying though is like this is just how the concept, how we operatively use it in society, is based on that subjective perception of people. When we decide what somebody is, in every case, we're going to be using our subjective understanding, our subjective subconscious cues that tell us which box to put them in our minds.
So I would say this
because it operates that way. It's pragmatic to understand that this thing operates this way, right? And understand that, take it for what it is, put everybody in the category who's put in that category by the society in that category, right? And also understand this other concept that is tied to it, largely, which would be biological sex. Understand that these are two things that, although they're very interconnected, they're not the same thing, the same way with psychology and neurology. It does us a lot of good to understand that a lot of neurology has a lot to do with what we see psychologically, but also if we conflated these things and we didn't understand what they are at their core and separate them into distinct fields, right? We'd be a lot more lost.